Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Everybody, Dave Scott here on Spaced Out Radio. How y'all doing? I got flat hair tonight. I apologize. It's all over the place because I had a nice warm shower right before the show. Hey, forgive me, but it was comforting. Tonight we're getting into Arcturian healing, communication with aliens, and so much more. Author Viviane Chauvet is here on Spaced Out Radio once again, and we're glad to have her as we will get things going here momentarily. But first, we got to say hello to each and every one of you. We got NB in the gold medal position, Race Fan taking home the silver, and Nightmare with a solid bronze medal tonight. Thank you so much. Hey, Travis W., Mr. Woostus. Travis will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio, Chris 716, Sugar Britches, Brown Dwarf, Penny Van. Nice to have you all here. Hi, Human Carl and Lisa C. We love Human Carl around here. A great veteran of the United States Air Force. We love our veterans around here. Hadley, how you doing? D. Cohen, nice to see you. Donna, and he's number 16 in your program, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Janssen, there he is. Kevin, how you doing? Rui from Portugal. Trinitro, it's been a while. How you been doing? Dave Walters, let's go Giants. Jenny, how are you? Thank you for coming on in. Hi, Pam Harris. And Sea Warrior Son. Ayumi Doll is here. Ayumi Doll will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Kurt M., nice to see you. Pam Smith. Millennium, my man. And Obi Flat. W. David Page, nice to have you all here. Jessica Rugged Source, good to have you both here. Shaq Rustelford, how are you? Thank you for joining us again, your third night in a row. Let's see, where are we here? Pat Toohey, nice to see you. Susan Alloway, thanks for joining us. Robert Lamoth, Monica, Javier from Cryptid 559. They're coming on as guests in about a week and a half here. It's going to be fun. And Kathy Evans, how are you? Let's continue on with our roll call, shall we? We have Marlena, good to see you. And Chris Holm, we'll see you in Vegas, my man. Can't wait. And Pixie Lara, we'll see you in Vegas as well. Wibsy, hey there, Hallmark. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. I hope it's so nice to see you taking the time out from the Hallmark channel to watch us tonight. Thank you so much, my man. Margaret Oliver, nice to see you. And Lance Coles, good to have you here. Love V Love, nice to see you back. And who else do we have? Luscious Jules, Sparkles on Facebook. Good to see you. Gizmo, how you doing? Area 51, Laura Lobbs, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Tim Othman. Zen1, T2L2, welcome to SOR chat. Appreciate you. Digger Dog, my man, can't wait to see you in Vegas again. Ozzy, oi, oi to you. And who else do we have here? Zen1, good to see you. Hey, we got like a minute to go here. What do you say we get Bill WD-40 into the room so he can lube us up for tonight's show? And now we wait. Now we wait for Bill WD-40. Will he show up right about here in just a moment? James Weston, how you doing? Good to see you, my man. And Eternity Eternal. Good to see you. We're in for a great show tonight. I love me some aliens. Love me some hardcore aliens. Why? Because I can. We should all have a little aliens at times, don't you think? Totally. Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. We really do appreciate the love. As well, you can do some shopping at spacedoutradio.com. And by the way, Cryptid 559, he is coming to Las Vegas for our fan party. Him, Javier, and I believe Jesus are coming. So we're going to rock it on down with us. We appreciate it. There's Bill WD-40 right there, lubing us up as we speak, because you always want to go into a show smooth. And you know what else is smooth? When we all get our horns up and we rock it out. Let's get it going right now. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. You'll Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A power show of great information tonight. Talking about Arcturians and healing. Author Viviane Chauvet is here tonight. Then in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp, followed by Little Timmy Senor, bringing us a very impactful and insightful UFO report. Let's get right to it. Viviane Chauvet is an advanced Arcturian hybrid avatar, published author, international public speaker, creator of the Arcturian Energy Matrix Healing and the Arcturian Healing Arts program. She is an advocate for planetary ascension. She hosts a podcast called The Infinite Star Connections and is the owner of Infinite Healing from the Stars LLC. Her job, her goal, her life's mantra is to bring peace, love, and light to the planet, to open people's eyes to the fact that there is more when you stare up at the stars than what you think, and that communication with other planetary beings and extraplanetary beings is true and is out there. We love it when Viviane Chauvet is on Spaced Out Radio. Viviane, it is always a pleasure to have you here. Bonjour, comment ça va?
Ça va bien, et toi, Dave?
Merci beaucoup. Yes. You know how it goes. But hey, I want to say thank you once again for coming on Spaced Out Radio. We have you on every number of months. So you've been actively working on a new book here. And you know what? We're going to get into that in just a little bit. But for our listeners who may not be familiar with you, how does one know that they are in contact with extraterrestrials?
Always a joy to see you, Dave. Thank you for having me back here on Spaced Out Radio. How do we know that you are in communication with interstellar intelligence? But first, it's usually when you are in communication with them, it is very clear in terms of it's probably from birth or always been a part of you. In my case, Dave, it's as natural as the air that I breathe because it's a part of who I am. Even as a child, I'll tell you something, even as a child, I've always been in those very direct telepathic communication with them. And it was always this beautiful group collective of being supporting me. It was always uplifting, always guiding me in the highest place. It was always to reassure me, to bring me guidance. And as I evolved and grew up in this dimension, I realized that I was simply communicating with my interstellar group, that it was just a natural part of my life, as natural as we speak right now. So for those star seeds who've been in connections with their own intergalactic group, their star families, their roots, it's becoming a part of you. It's very natural. And if you look at hundreds and thousands of star seed around the world, even those who are working to channeling guidance, whether it's through the healing process, it's becoming so much more of a natural phenomenon. I bet you, Dave, that you may have had your own experience with cosmic intelligence, right? Uh-huh.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Little Davy has aliens. Oh yeah, we got some aliens around here. I'm not too worried about that. I
Right.
am confused about the message. I'm still not sure what that's all about, but that's all part of the learning curve. I used to have a lot more contact than I have now. A lot more. And it seems like the more I've delved into doing this show, they've kind of allowed me the ability to kind of have some time to do that. I mean, I do get taken every now and again, not going to lie. Hasn't happened in a number of months, but I think it's all part of the process.
Well said, actually. It's a very natural part of the process. Hello, Monica. Yay. It's a very natural part of the process. In fact, it's becoming more natural than even 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We're simply rediscovering those abilities, that we are part of an intergalactic communities, and the Earth is part of this. So as you're refining your consciousness, becoming more attuned, and unwinding yourself from narratives and stories and trauma, you're allowing your own inner conduit to become clearer, more attuned, listening with your heart as opposed to the logic of the mind, and knowing that we are coexisting with a multi-dimensional universe. So imagine the diversity of life. Look on just the Earth, the diversity here on this planet. We don't even understand the depth of the ocean, the oceanic life, diversity of life, even in remote places like forestry and mountain range. And so imagine the diversity of life in the solar system and even beyond. It's absolutely mind blowing.
It truly is mind blowing when we look at the overall size of this. But there are a lot of non-believers out there, Vivian, who do not believe that we are in contact, who believe that people like you and like me were just storytellers for 15 minutes of fame. How do we convince people that there is more to ET contact, and it's more popular and it's happening more and more than what people actually believe it's happening?
That's an excellent question. And here's the good news, or here's the answer. There is no need to convince anyone of anything, because your testimonial, your life experience, your presence speaks for itself. And one thing I'll tell you, what my intergalactic groups always says, for those who choose to hold on to certain narratives and label themselves as non-believer, well, it is of no consequence, because your earth is covered with foreign symbols, history, markings, ancient sites. And so at this point, it's just a matter of fear. And as you're allowing yourself to move past the fear, you discover that as you're opening the visors, that you too are part of this intergalactic communities, and it is more of an invitation to rediscover who you are, opening your inner universe. We always says we're here to inspire, teach, elevate. At the same time, the one thing that we're not here for is to entertain the mind. So it's very much an invitation of the heart, and that's how we're going to keep it. And yes, you're right. The universe is pretty large. So imagine the possibility. And as you're opening your own inner universe, you're opening all dimensions of your life. So it is truly an invitation to expand and see what you may discover about yourself first, and then we can talk about intergalactic cosmic intelligence.
No, and I understand that, and I can appreciate that. But you know what? The majority of people still on this planet have not opened up to the idea that ET contact is real. When we look at it and we take the time to focus on what is happening around the world and the experiences that people are having, Vivian, I mean, they're all so different comparatively to everyone else's. Yours are different than mine are different than the next person's, and so on and so forth. How do we try and blend what's happening together when the experiences are just so different?
Different, and yet there's a point of commonality. Because if you listen carefully to the star seeds awakening by the thousands around the globe, look at just your own listeners right now, cheering like, "Hey, fellow space travelers. Yay, I'm connecting to that energies." It's becoming a much more worldwide accepted natural phenomenon. And I can tell you from my experience over the last 10 years plus of hands-on working with people from all over the world, from Estonia, Bali, New Zealand, everywhere, Dave. I can tell you I hear the same message over and over. I am ready. I've always known that I am different. This is part of who I am. I've always felt this energy. I've always known this other reality. And now I am ready to embrace it. So I would say that there's more of a reversal of thought system going on right now. And yes, there's pocket of resistance for sure. There are those who will fear what seems to be the unknown or will fear what may look different or sound different than you. That's what is shifting right now. And if you feel the pulse of the earth and you're really listening carefully to what is really opening like a cascading effect of changes, you would see that the scale has reversed now. It's more like the opposite, where people are ready to talk about it. It can be their grandmother or an ancestors or when they were young, something happening, or even just their own perceived reality because they know it in their heart. And there's so many more people awakening to this natural phenomenon that's been coexisting with the earth for millions of years. It's nothing new. We're simply rediscovering it with renewed eyes, I would say.
Okay, say renewed eyes, what do you mean by that? Is that people opening up, or is that people learning within in their own spiritual self what they're missing?
It's all the above. The renewed eyes is the state of consciousness that is awakening. It's people asking different questions, want to learn from higher perspective. More, it's people want to move out of the same narratives that have been told over and over. I mean, why spending so much resources of going to other planets just to what? Study the rocks, looking at the atmosphere? You know that there is an omnipresence of an intelligence that coexisting with all of us because the same energy that made planets and stars and universes, the same energy that you carry within you. So there's no difference. It's simply the renewed eyes is we're shifting beyond barriers. And the barriers are first and foremost the lower mental mind. All these programming and belief system put in place just to create barriers. We're transcending all of this, Dave. And it's so obvious.
But with life the way it is, so busy, okay, where people barely have enough time to get 6 hours sleep, let alone the 8 hours that our bodies deserve. It's a 24-hour society. Doesn't matter whether you live in the boonies like I do, or you live in a major metropolis. Life is always going on. Social media is 24 hours a day. We are having the worst time ever in humanity's history of turning our minds off to relax. And this is what I think is causing a lot of the mental problems and mental illness out there, especially depression and anxiety among people. Doesn't matter whether they're young or old. I mean, how do we find our inner selves if we can't even shut down to pay attention to what our body is saying?
You have a choice. You have a choice what to tune in. You have a choice which radio channel you listened. You have the choice to see, do you watch TV at night? You have a choice to make more conscious decision that will lead you to a greater discovery. You can be grocery shopping, which is very mundane, right? And still have the most profound realization because something is happening at that moment. There's no more thing as such of busy, mundane, and with the demands of life. This is a reversal of the thought system we're referring to. It's perceiving reality from a complete different aspect. Let me give you an example of this. For over 20 years, I have worked in what you call corporate Americas, job from 9 to 5, commute, going places, coming back home, cooking dinner, going back to sleep, and going to work the next day. It never stopped me from expanding and deepening my connections with who I am, my gift, my abilities. I've always been in complete interconnections with my intergalactic groups, even when I was in an office doing customer service. They will tell me, oh, that person right now is having a hard time. If you choose that word, it's going to shift the energy. And I would do that. And next thing I know, my boss were like, hey, well done. We got a 5-star call. What do you think is that? It was simply me being cautious that even though I was doing a mundane 3D job, I was perceiving that job from a complete different level of reality. No one was forcing me to plug myself on the news, CNN, and Fox Radio all day long. I was making different choices. So when I come home, I would choose to do a meditation, helping myself even just half an hour to decompress, talk to my body, release the cortisol of the stress of the body, remove energy, relax your mind, clear. This is your time of connections. Connections happens every day in every way. So this is where we being unwinding from is that plugging in that what life looks like, that structures of life. This one is no longer existing, it's shifting more and more and more. And that is true even though you still have a so-called 3D corporate job. And you know what? There are light workers, the human beings like you everywhere. And everywhere people are shifting vibrationally. And so some of them will still be choosing for a while, have visors on. But in reality, what that happened, and you see someone like that, hold them in the highest light, send them light in their heart because they're the one who need it the most. And so everything, Dave, is an invitation to access to higher form of living, conscious living. And I am no exception to the task. And there are many people like this worldwide, right here, right now.
Is humanity ready for extraterrestrial contact?
You have been ready for a very long time, but the authority in place, social media, entertainment, movies, everything, the distractions put in place to make you fearful of what is different. The word alien is overcharged with so much connotations. So you have to ask deep into your heart without having to answer to anyone, just in the privacy of your heart connection. You know that it is time to reconnect with your interstellar brothers and sisters. It is time to for the earth to take her rightful place in this community that has been expanding and waiting for a very long time for these moments of where we are. And it's like a snowball effect. The ball is in motion. And more and more and more, there's a sense of expansion. I just came back recently from co hosting and teaching a retreat in Maui, Hawaii. And there were probably 40, 50 people in the room, plus 3,000 plus on the live stream. And what the kind of work we're doing into grids activation, healing wounds, working with the Lemurian masters, bringing sacred grids of light. The phenomenon of what we have co-created together was beyond what we could expect it. And I'll tell you, I heard the same message and feedback over and over. We've been waiting for this for a long time. And finally, there are people out there like myself and others who are showing the way, who are leading, or to inspire people to step up and to be the best of who you can be. So it's about dropping off the 3D identity and like a t-shirt with a logo on it. Let's drop those identity and let's reconnect to understand really much who you are and imagine the potential that you have within you. So this is really much a very clear invitation to go in that directions. And I know there are so many people worldwide who can feel it in their hearts. I know it. I hear it every day in my work. Every day.
What is the biggest message that or question that people have when they come to you trying to find understanding and clarity?
That's a great question. There's a multi layers of those commonality of questions. Among those, I would say people are ready to clear themselves. They're ready to let go of the wound and the old stories and the obstacle. They want to be of service. I hear that all the time. I know I'm here on a grand mission. I know I have a sole purpose. I've been waiting for this for a long time. So I want to be able to transcend the barriers of what seems to blocking me. And the big one commonality is removal of fear. It's understanding fear as an experience. Fear is an energy based on past experience that repeat itself. So it's to demystify what fear is really about, and that reopen doors and the transformation, the joy, the realization, the horror moments that it creates. It's amazing. That's one of the huge thing about the extraction from this world is the fear-based matrix energies. Is what are you afraid of? It's fear itself. And fear itself is hollow. It's based on something else, whether it's something you heard, something you were told, whether it's cultural, generational, historical, there's always roots behind it. And when you start to explore and demystify what those roots are, then you elevate, you conquer, you become much more empowered. So it's really about everyone's empowerment, your light, your energy, you. It really is.
Is it fear, or is it the fact that we don't like change as humans, that we don't like taking chances? We've built our safe nests.
It's all connected to fear. Because the resistance to fear, it's not that you don't like, or human being don't like changes. That's the programming you've been put on for generations. It could be through previous war, conflict, past life, historical, planetary history, being invaded. Fear was the unknown, fear of an outside source. It's really much relate to fear itself, and fear will take on different mask, different expression of I'm comfortable with negativity. I know what to expect from it. I'm comfortable in that 3D life because I know what to expect, because that's how you remember consciously. Imagine remembering more. Imagine remembering other aspect of you. Imagine if you were yourself, let's say an architect of forms in the higher realms, and that memory start to come back to you, and you go, oh, there's so much more to me. I have really nothing to fear. I'm able to transcend that impression built on I'm comfortable this way. It feels safe. If you feel like a certain comfortable physical, mental safety, that's because it's masking a potential fear of moving beyond that. I'm telling you, the roots are very deep, and yet they're coming more and more to the surface to be healed, reconciled, and understood for what they really are. So you say, what if there's more to this life, to your identity, to
And on that note, I'm
you?
going to cut you off right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. A fast first half hour with Viviane Chauvet, author, experiencer, knowledge seeker, Arcturian. We'll find out what the Arcturians are next on Spaced Out Radio. So much fun tonight. So much fun.
It really is. So we got a little break right now.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes. Remember, our YouTube audience can hear us.
Oh, wonderful.
All right, let's go there. Say hello to everybody who's coming on in here now. I think I'm caught up. All right. Hello, Bobby Broadway. The Michael Leger. Where's Doug Shelby? We can't start this show without Doug Shelby. The hell is he? You having fun yet?
I do.
Good. Good.
Oh, yes. It's great to be here.
Trying to put embarrass me there right at the beginning of the show. Dave, you've got some aliens, don't you? Yes, Dave's got aliens. Hi, Aunt Edna. How are you? Vash the Impaler. See how we are living? Where have you been hiding lately? You've been sleeping in, haven't you? Remember, if you have questions for Vivian, put them in capital letters. I will ask them to her. Dave Walters, I got yours. But, you being a Kamloops Blazers fan, I don't expect you to know what capital letters are. Anyways, if you have questions, I will ask them in hour number 2. Also, we got a lot of new faces in here tonight. I just want to let you know, thank you for coming on in. Thank you, Sugar Britches, for bringing a lot of new faces in and tell them to give us a chance. Hi, Maggie M10. How are you? Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. We are here literally 7 days a week for your listening ears. I'm here Monday through Friday. The weekend crew comes in Saturday and Sunday evening. And we got you all lined up. You don't need to go anywhere else. We gotta be here. We need you here. Anywho, we are a hybrid between a live radio show, live podcast, and live YouTube / Twitch channel. So we do take some breaks here for our radio audience, so that way they can go to their commercial station identification and their news and whatever else they put on. Yeah, that's what we do. It's what we do. So now we're just waiting. River Dogma, how you doing, buddy? See you in Vegas soon. God, I can't believe that's creeping up here. Like 7.5 weeks. It's going to be awesome. Literally awesome, people. Hey, Aussie Ange, how are you? Aussie Sue, love to see Vivian on your show. Thank you. She is awesome. We actually got to meet a few years ago in San Francisco, Vivian and I.
That's right. I remember, Dave.
I remember too. I can tell you exactly where your table was. When you walked in the door, your table was the first on the left.
You're amazing. That's exactly where we were.
Yep. Willard, Dave, is it possible that aliens would want something from my dreams or want to show me something, because every night it's like I'm being guided? I will ask Vivian this, Willard, in the next after the next half hour. Okay, we'll get to that. I promise you. Ozzy Ange is coming to Vegas. Yeah, Vivian is from Phoenix. Via where are you originally from? Because you don't get that accent from Phoenix.
I know you don't.
Are you from France or Quebec?
No, I grew up in Quebec.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I grew up in a double French culture, French, European French, and French Canadian. But I grew up in Montreal, Quebec.
Oh, in Montreal, beautiful.
Oui, Montreal.
I've never been there. I want to go there one day.
Oh yeah, especially in a late spring, summer, it's beautiful, or early fall, it's beautiful.
Yeah, lots of aliens in Montreal. River Dogma, you can pay at the event. Just let Kat know that we've talked about that. And yeah, Super Chat is open. And what else? Our store is open for swag. Here we go, everyone. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Remember, we're on all podcast networks as well: Spotify, Apple, Google Play, you name it, we are there. iHeartRadio as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Author, ET contactee, and a good friend of this show, Viviane Chauvet, is here on Spaced Out Radio talking about Arcturian healing. Before we get too deep into the healing aspect, Vivian, and welcome back, tell everybody what the Arcturians are.
Yes, thank you, Dave. Good to be back as well. So let's talk about my beautiful intergalactic family, huh? The Arcturians. So we are known as one of the most enlightened and ancient intergalactic civilizations who've been interacting with the Earth and the solar system for, I would say, between 3 to 4 million years. So we're very ancient. We have reached a level of enlightenment and self-mastery from a long, long time of evolution. So we're beautiful, tall, elongated, very eloquent beings, and they're very loving, and they're extremely intelligent. It is truly a joy to be part of this star family that I represent, and I love to be around them. Their energy transcends everything else. There's no fear, there's no doubt, there's no disconnect. It's just pure love, and it's very much invite you to be the best of who you are. And it's just to talk about them, it feels very refreshing to me because, it's a natural connection, and it feels very like home when I just talk about my beloved Arcturian family.
And where are the Arcturians from?
Our realm called Arcturus is about 37 to 40,000 light years from this quadrant. So Arcturus is really a realm, and we have about, I would say, 12 to 13 planets within this realm. And we call it the realm of unification because we have reached a level of unity consciousness among our civilizations. We're very close to the great central sun, so the solar energy is very important to us. And even for me on this planet, I love to be in proximity of the sun. So this is why I live in a desert, so I can be in the sun all the time. I don't like cloudy days, of rainy day. Thank you so much. And
Or apparently snowy days because you moved from
oh,
Canada.
I don't even know how I survived it. No, I have a lot of help, but it's just Arcturians, many souls travel to our realms to heal. We help souls to heal, recovered from trauma. We help souls to teach, guide them in their next level of evolution so they can continue to evolve in their light. So we're very much connecting to soul healing, and we do that a lot even with souls who just leave the earth from their incarnations. They will come to us in our realms. We help them to understand their best life lessons, allowing to release trauma so the soul can continue their elevation and plan their next level of incarnation as it is necessary for that soul. So we live in very much in harmony with each other. We are very functioning as a community, a collective. So every Arcturians everywhere in the multiverse, we know where we are. We have this telepathic communications always going on. So I can just close my eyes from wherever I am in the world and call them, and right away they come. It's like they know where I am at any given time, anywhere, whether I'm in Africa or Canada, whether I could be on the moon and they will know. And it's very difficult to verbally express, our true essence, but it's really much of an experience. So we talk through soul essence exchange, which is far more effective than verbal communication, which can be misinterpreted depending on filters and emotional wounds. But when you transfer your soul essence, it's a complete sharing of who you are, and the recipient receive it, and then it's conveyed back. It's really magnificent.
You mentioned the moon. Have you been to the moon?
Well, not in this form, meaning not in my earthly form. They will not. My team would not let me go there. Mm-mm.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure on that. There's so many questions to ask in regards to Arcturians. What do they look like?
I like this question. So I'll tell you what I answer the same thing. You can listen to 10 interviews and you will see I'm very consistent with my answers. I will gladly answer that from my perspective, which changes nothing to the experience of anybody else. So the way I see them, the way I experience my Arcturian father, the way I experience my group, whether it's on board the ship, whether it's through their holographic projection, is always the same. Very tall, lanky, very beautiful, long, elongated arms and legs are very graceful. And you have no hair whatsoever, no eyebrows, no hair, no eyelashes, there's nothing. This is why I'm like, ooh, I got hair. I don't know what to do with it, so I just leave it be. So no hair whatsoever, and the translucidity of their skin is just it's almost angelic, and it has the ability to convey different spectrum of light. So sometimes they appear blue, sometimes they appear shades of violet, depending on what spectrum that they have in resonance in the transmission they choose to have. And the way that they walk, it's very much so beautifully, it's very graceful. They almost feel like angelic being. We're not angelic being, but they have this grace about them, and they convey such a level of mastery, presence, energy, love about them. People who are really working with genuine Arcturians will tell you similar feelings, similar experiences, that the immense love they felt, their level of intelligence, the level of, the capacity to help you heal just by their presence. And so my Arcturian father must be about at least, I would say 12, 15 feet tall. In my Arcturian form, I am at least 10 to 12 feet tall. So very tall being, great, very graceful.
You were bringing up memories for me
Oh,
because because in just over 2 weeks' time, it'll be the ninth anniversary of my seeing an Arcturian in the forest.
wow, that's really bringing up powerful memories, and I would love to hear a little bit about how was your experience of seeing an Arcturian being in the forests? How was it for
Oh,
you, Dave?
well, it came 5 days after a UFO landing called me outside of my friend's house. And 5 days later, I met a young lady named Samantha Mowat. She was a lifelong ET contactee, and she had seen me pacing around the house while the ladies were having tea, and she just automatically started picking me up. And she's like, "You want to go outside, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, I do." She goes, "You mind if I come with?" So I said, "Sure." So we walk into the back 40 of the yard, which is 10 acres. And I was showing her in the daytime where the craft had landed and what it was doing. And then all of a sudden she decided that her and I needed to go into the forest and in behind the house. So I was like, okay. She goes, we're probably going to see something. I said, yep, I just knew. And she followed that up by saying, but from what I know, ETs don't like dogs. And we had 4 dogs around us. So we tried to shoo the dogs back to the house. They weren't having any of that. And we just figured, you know what, screw it. Let's just try and get to where we need to go, see what we need to see. And so the dogs ran ahead of us. They ran to the gate where the farm met the forest. And Samantha and I, when we got about 15 feet away, the dogs dodged into the forest. Samantha and I walked in, and we were just having small chatter. We got about 50 yards into the forest, and Samantha started looking around with this perplexed look on her face. I said, what's going on? And she says, where's the dogs? All 4 dogs were gone. So, like stupid white people in a horror movie, we kept going. And we walked about another 50 yards into the forest, and Samantha jumps in onto this tree stump, and she's got that look on her face again. And you got to realize, I've only known this lady for about 25 minutes here, 30 minutes at this point. And she's got that weird look on her face again. And she's like, Dave, I don't want you to be afraid, but I want you to look that way. And she points north. She goes, I want you to tell me what you see. So I took a deep breath. I turned and I said, Samantha, what is that? Samantha, what is that? Like, this is 2:00 in the afternoon. There's not a cloud in the sky. Children are at school. We're in a desolate area of the forest. And 200 feet in front of me is a 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial standing there staring back. No hair, very thin body. I saw the head. I didn't see the face. I never saw arms or legs. It was a tan color, eventually changing to a darker tan color. And I didn't see the second being there. Samantha did. It was about for people who are trying to break it down, what did it look like? It looked like a gray alien about 6 feet tall, but it was tan in color as well. And that one started telepathically communicating with Samantha and stated that we were more than welcome to come on over and say hello. However, they said first that they're not here to harm us or take us. However, they were worried about the man's health. Well, I know Samantha wasn't the man, and I was the only man there. So they were worried about my health, which threw me for a loop because I saw fire in the sky. And aliens are bad and, everything like that was going through my head. So this one threw me for a loop. Mm-hmm. Never ended up going over to meet them. Stood there for about 15 minutes watching them. Got called to a different part of the forest, thinking we'd see more. Go back to the original location after that was a bust. And they are gone.
Incredible, Dave. And have they identified themselves as Arcturians?
Yes. Later on in our meditation on it, they did.
Okay. Well, one of the things I'm getting from this is that the second one realized to some degree by looking at your field the impact their presence was creating. So what they do is that they have the ability to project a form that may feel a little bit more comfortable. And so instead of appearing as a, like the other one, 10, 12 feet tall, potentially even taller, when you say was 6 feet tall, I literally saw his field readjusting so that you can feel.
Yeah, I never saw him.
Yeah.
I was too focused on this other guy.
Yeah.
Way too focused. Yeah. And, the thing that really got me about that whole event that day was Mission, British Columbia, where it happened. It's right in the middle of the flight path for Vancouver Airport, and a lot of airplanes fly around there. And during this entire time, it wasn't until we started walking out of the forest that we heard airplanes again. It was weird. We always hear airplanes. Always.
Wow.
It
And
was
that's
strange.
that's fascinating. And that's 90 years ago, what you say. It marks the anniversary
Yeah, April 15th
coming
will
up.
be the anniversary of that. But the other cool part about it, Vivian, is I wasn't scared of it. Okay. I was more petrified that at 40 years old, everything in my life that I knew at that point was garbage. Everything that I had been taught, everything that, I grew up, that there's a God, there's a devil, there's a heaven, there's a hell. And if you're good, you go up. If you're bad, you go down. But nobody ever told me how to deal with aliens face to face,
Precisely.
especially during the day.
And in addition to that, not only it's open in the forest in a plain daylight, but it was also challenging what entertainment movies saying far in the sky by respect to the true story, of course. But all of these media projection of be afraid of those ETs. And while judgment and discernment have always required, that paradigm shifted for you because they were not there to take you or probe you or do
No.
anything like that. They were concerned for your health.
Yeah. That threw me for a loop.
Yes,
I could tell you right now, it threw me for a loop.
for
That
sure.
wasn't the way it was supposed to be. I expected that, I'd having to be drop the gloves on something like a good old, hockey fight back in the day. And that's
Yeah.
what I thought was going to happen. And it didn't turn out that way.
No. No, no, and then just the way you were describing the scene, and when you said 12 feet tall, standing there, and then the second one, I felt right away 'cause I could see the scene in my third eye, and I knew right away that he came to connect with you, to establish connection, says, "Hey, we come out of concern for you," which is completely opposite of a lot of things that we've been taught to fear what is different. And that's another big, huge awakening of humanity. Yes, again, discernment is implied, but that day, your paradigm shifted. You knew you were just looking at them. And I can imagine how it felt to you to says, you come all this way to tell me that you are concerned for my health. That's quite phenomenal, Dave. I'm so happy for you
They've never been back.
that you know of.
Oh, I've had a lot of grays, but these guys, as far as I know, never been back.
Well, here's the thing about Arcturians, and the same goes for any very advanced, high frequency being. It's extremely challenging to even project an holographic aspect of them of yourself in a density. So think of it as you're a very high being that vibrates on a very high level, and you have to project yourself in a way that it's going to match your reality in a density on a planet that has such a very low gravitational pull. So in reality, they were there, you saw them, you heard them, but they were not there physically per se. They were more like they utilized what's called a very advanced holographic projection of their light body essence so they can communicate with you. Arcturians being us, we will not be able to be physically on the planet because of the demands on the energy. It's like super compressing yourself into density. It's really it's possible, but it will require an extraordinary level of energies. If instead of that, what they do is they do projection of an holographic form that can interact with you. You can even potentially feel them, but it's a very advanced level of conscious holographic projection. And that I know because this is how they come and communicate with me in this dimension.
I love it. I love it. As we got about 4 minutes to go before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Viviane Chauvet is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. You know, Vivian, the idea that contact can emotionally distress someone because we're not used to seeing it. We're not used to going through that process. It's a change in your own personal humanity. You look at life different after you have something like that happen. It's emotional. It's scarring. How do you deal with the trauma that goes along with it, whether it's a positive or negative experience?
And I do recognize because I'm here in this form and I feel emotions and I feel a lot. So again, it's depending on how you choose to have this experience. It can be deeply traumatizing at first, and yes, it will change your paradigm. But when you reflect upon it, like in your case, Dave, and you said the energy, the gift, the presence, they brought you a great gift by honoring you with their presence and their loving concern. Yes, it might be shocking, even through your nervous systems, your emotional system. It changed your paradigm. At the same time, the gift of this exchange allows you to accelerate your own conscious awakening. So, beyond the trauma or beyond the initial emotional imprint that it leaves, if you allow yourself to reflect upon it and to says, what was the gift? What is really happened? The purpose of this contact, whether it's like you plain daylight in the field in the forest, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and here they are. For them to do that they took every extraordinary measurement to establish the most peaceful and as much as possible comfortable situation to make contact. They didn't pop up in your room in the middle of the night. It was in the playlight at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so again, it depends on your state of awareness. Are you aligned? Are you open to it? Are you, if you play in the fear all the time, but then of course everything will reflect through the filters of fear, but it's not necessary to go through fear. It can be like, wow, that shook my reality. Now I'm going to reflect upon it and I'm going to understand really what took place and extrapolate the best of it. And so depending on what experience you have had, think about at a soul level, this is, you knew that it was planned, this is going to happen, it was already part of your journey. So you have to think a bit outside of the 3D linear box to understand what this interstellar or interdimensional connection really meant at the time of where you are in your life and at the moment it happened, because there's a great significance behind it, more than meets the eyes.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. When we're about to go to a break here in about a minute here, and there's a lot that we still need to talk to you about before we get to some audience questions. You know, I am, someone who is interested in the healing aspect of everything because we hear so many times these extraterrestrials starting to heal people. We're hearing this more and more over time, whereas you go back 20, 30, 40 years, everything was so negative about extraterrestrials and the contact that went along with it. Even Travis Walton ended up changing his tune on everything regarding his own encounter when he looked more into it. And I think I want to go down that road with you first before we get to some audience questions, Vivian. And I'd appreciate that. And Vivian, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here now at the top of the hour. 1 hour down, 2 hours to go on Spaced Out Radio. Viviane Chauvet, author, Arcturian researcher, ET contactee, good old Canadian kid living down in Phoenix, Arizona. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we are clear. I'm going to take a quick break here and step away. So, Vivian, I'm just going to put you in the green room here, and I will be right back, okay? All right, there we go. Tom Amarillo, how you doing? And remember, if you have questions for Vivian coming up here in hour 2, make sure you put them in capital letters. I will be right back. All right. I am back. How we all doing? And we'll bring in Vivian here. We got about just over a minute to go here before we...
Perfect. And we got 1 hour left. It goes fast.
It is going fast. It's been a wonderful conversation so far.
It's been awesome. I'm having so much fun, Dave.
Good. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it's really fun. Now I really love it here.
I'm just searching for questions from our audience because I don't want to miss any.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. Maggie, one day you guys will put the energy in and my chair will move. I'll leave that for you. They all try to have the intention, put the attention out to get my chair to move when I step away.
Well, it will be fun the day that your chair is moving and it says, "Come, see me. I'm moving now."
Right?
Oh, yes.
Jessica has flat hair today, too. Yeah. Kira says, be sure to tell Vivian we love you, too. Yes, we do. Here we go, Vivian, with the second hour.
All righty.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Cabasset. Cabasset is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok, for as long as that lasts, at Spaced Out Radio. Viviane Chauvet is an author, experiencer, researcher, Arcturian messenger. She's a lot of fun, and that's why we love having her on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Viviane, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave. It's wonderful to be here as well with all of you.
All right. Before we get to some audience questions, I want to get into Arcturian healing. This is why we have brought you here to talk about this tonight. What is the Arcturian healing?
Well, thank you for asking. So I'll explain the way we approach in our perspective to healing based on the way we implement that technique and our beautiful frequencies with people. So I've been doing this work for over a decade now. And over the time, I developed what's called the Arcturian Energy Matrix Healing. So in the presence of my Arcturian delegation, we open a 5th and 6th dimensional holographic field that allows us to really connect with the clients, whether it's through soul connections, whether it's connecting through the body consciousness, and we're able to look into the timeline to see what association may be causing some loops, repetitions, programming, and so forth. So we're masters at what's called healing the soul matrix, which is with the soul fractals, and we're also able to repair as it is allowed through the higher self, of course, but we can repair the body template and help to bring in new healing template that accelerate the repair, the restoration, the enhancement, or even the energetic attunements. It's just in a nutshell of the capacity of what we can do, but you have to remember that it's always done in the synchronicity of the higher self, the soul design, where the persons come to heal, to hear, to understand, learn, integrate. So we will never interfere in a soul evolution. So if we're not authorized to proceed in a form of healing, we will explain what alternative can be done and the reason behind it. So it's done in a very sacred way. It's a very ancient approach to healing, to a form of you already perfect, you already hold your divinity, but then there's aspect that a lot that make you forget, and then separation, fragmentation took place, whether it's through ancestral lineage, whether it's through trauma that you carry to your own Akashic records. So we have to look in terms of how can we help you shift and bring you back into that place of restoration. So I've been doing this work for a very long time. And what I like about it is that it really helped people to it's like a graduation, help you to vibrationally, frequency wise access to higher aspect of you. And when we look at someone evolving, shifting, or starting to understand, like the veil opens up, it's life changing for that person. And imagine the potential and what this person can really do and accomplish. It's phenomenal. So it's a very huge infinite umbrella that we explore together with the Arcturians. Just our frequencies alone are extremely healing because they're so advanced and their presence is so loving that it brings out oftentimes just by speaking, just being in our presence, it's already bringing out those energies. And so it facilitates a dialogue between the consciousness and the unconscious, and also to the soul ancestry and how we can connect the dots, so to speak. So it's really amazing.
I can see that. Now, when you talk healing, like when I think healing, I think, people with diseases. I think people who maybe have arthritis, people who have chronic migraines or something along those lines. What kind of healing are these Arcturians doing?
This is transcending. I've my elbow hurts, so I have, migraines, so I have stomach pain. You have to understand that your body is a holistic intelligence system made of energy, and energy speaks the language of light. So what is that your stomach's been telling you? What is those migraine has been attempting to show you? So we go far beyond 3D physical symptoms. It's the decoding of the language behind it that leads to a much more profound resolution to identify root source, and potentially maybe that stomach pain of the headache, it's connecting to a much deeper root that your soul's been wanting to heal for generation or maybe for lifetimes. And through the body decoding, we can open the history and says, well, you're telling us that your third eye has been blocked and you think it's and part of your liver, but what we can see is that in reality there's a huge blockage right into the digestive system, which create a blockage right into the occipital, and then that blocks your third eye, and the person goes, whoa. I've always known that. I felt it intuitively. I knew there was something there. And that's completely right there with shifting the patterns. It's like a restructuration. In that it's much more deeply healing than a 3D traditional approach to, well, your stomach hurt, let's send energy, and then the stomach stop hurting. You've learned nothing from this. There's no evolution in this. So it's more of a multidimensional, experiential, evolving type of healing, which serve a lot better than just creating temporary solution for physical pain.
I understand. I appreciate that. And how many people are they healing? Because there's a lot of pain in this world right now.
Well, pain, again, it's a big umbrella, just like the word healing. What is the pain originally from? What is the purpose behind it? What is the understanding of pain? Pain have no necessity to lead to suffering. So let's decode what is pain and how it applies to everyone. And is also the healing on a planetary level, helping to heal wounds based on history, like the major world wars that needs to be healed out of the history, that needs to be healed out of generational transmission of the same wounds, pain, post-traumatic stress, that needs to be healed from the collective consciousness so that an entire civilization can be allowed to evolve beyond its own history and the repeating pattern behind that history. And I see that especially working with wonderful people from different cultural background, and I can see the energy of those deeply ingrained wound from wars and conflict repeating itself into the next generation and the next and the next and the next. The question we have for you is, how many generations does it take until you've learned and you heal and stop the repetition of the past into a loop that is infinite into your present, hoping the future will look different? So do you see the paradox here? It's about healing paradoxes that helps to shift pain into peace, into resolution, into elevation, and opening the consciousness. So that is again another huge potential of umbrella, and we're helping with this at a different level. But we need your collaboration because you know the old cliche, you cannot force, you can bring the horse to the water, you cannot force the water to drink. You can only invite the horse to drink. So again, it's an invitation to realize, are you ready to release what maybe you've been holding on to out of habits, programming, and what felt familiar? So again, it's a huge reversal of thought system of the world. And you know it's happening right now. There's more and more healing, reconciliation, opening. I mean, people are really ready to embrace new way of living, more joy, more fulfillment, more unity. It's a time to co-create new memories and not repeating the same ones, but with just different covers and different stories. It's time to shift. And this is a huge invitation, even from the intergalactics.
I can see that, and I can appreciate that. Who creates the message? Is it the Arcturians? Is it the Galactic Federation?
Well, that's a very vague question, Dave. So, who created a message to whom and for what purpose? It depends. Let's say that day, 9 years ago, when those beings came, the message came from them to you, and that was orchestrated through your higher self. For the soul level, you know that that was going to happen. It was part of your journey. It was meant to be on your path at the time it happened. That's a form of who's conveyed a message. It depends on, it has a different factors. So we have to make it a little bit more precise what you mean and who conveyed a message. Right now, we're the ones conveying the messages.
All right, let's get to some audience questions here. Hilton is asking, lots of us are suddenly drawn to everything not normal. What's your advice to us?
Beautiful. I like your openness. I would say what is considered or has been considered as abnormal is becoming the new natural organic way of being. So, what I would recommend is I remain teachable, I remain open to receive, and let the universe co create with you. And let that invitation, even through your own divine higher self, it says, at this point of time, I clear myself of what I think I have known and what I was taught, and yet I remain teachable and open, but always for your highest and greatest good. Now that's the discernment here. That has nothing to do with I'm open to whatever needs or I'm going to be open to contact. You would say, great, You want contact from elevation, spiritual, enlightened beings, or you want contact with people the same lower frequencies? You go like, oh, no, 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 no. I want more elevation. I want inspiration. I want positive. I want be guided for my highest good. So be very refined of what you ask. I remain teachable and I am open to connect with the enlightened, spiritually oriented, intergalactic cosmic intelligence that will see you and treat you as equal, not as inferior, as equal. And so that's the huge, wonderful piece of wisdom I like to have today. And that changes the frequency, the nature, and the quality of the experiences. Just like for you, Dave, that day, you know that those beings came for your well being and they treat you with respect. There was nothing threatening that day, there was nothing demeaning or anything like that. They came to out of care. And that speaks volume in itself. So anything you listen, anything you receive, you feel guided, if needs to be uplifting to for your well-being, to empower you, to support you to be the best of who you are as equal. Anything else, there's no need to pay attention to that anymore. Mm-mm.
All right, let's move on to another question. This one comes from Dave. Vivian, do you have to meditate to communicate, or do they just speak to you?
Great question, Dave. It's because of who I am. I am truly a Arcturian being having this earth human experience. It is very natural with me. And think of it as my body, my inner channels, everything is designed for this communication. So there's no need for me to go into a meditation state in order to initiate communication. I have learned to be more attuned with this. So if I calm my mind and relax, the mental congestion, and I just stay clear, I will simply enhance the quality of my interconnections with my star family. But it's very natural to me. It's always have been, even as a child.
Very cool. Let's continue on here. Let us go over to Willard, who is asking, is it possible that aliens would want something from my dreams or want to show me something? Because every night it's like I'm being guided to stuff I can't explain.
It is absolutely possible, Willard, that once you are in dream state, you're simply moving on into a higher state of yourself, and the body stay behind and sleep. In reality, you don't sleep; it's your body that sleeps. So you go back into this higher state of you, connecting with potentially star families or groups who know you very well, and they may want to come to teach you, to help you, to guide you. Oftentimes, intergalactic intelligence will use dream state because the logic mind sleep get out of the way and it's easier to connect with you without creating fear. So what I would recommend for you, Willard, is to say before you go to bed, ask if those interconnections that I have serve my highest and greatest good. I wish to consciously remember. And you have the right to set your boundaries, say what you want, how you want to have these experiences, and ask them to help you better understand what is it they're attempting to teach you.
Good answer.
Thank you.
Solid answer. Let's go to YJ. Vivian, do the Arcturians generally make contact physically or astrally?
Great question, YJ. Well, I would say both, but I like to redefine what physical mean. Arcturian by nature, we vibrate at a very high pace, high frequencies. We're very high frequency beings. So, as I mentioned today a little bit earlier, it will be extremely difficult for an Arcturian being coming here in full flesh physical form because of the demands of contracting their energy into a very, very dense field. It's like saying to you, let's walk underneath the water and the complexity of the ocean and feeling your body be compressed so you can connect with other civilizations, you will need a suit, you will need equipment to do that, right? So Arcturians will connect with you like they did with Dave, but when you see them, it is most likely an holographic projection of their essence, which is as real as this conversation, and they can also come to you in the astral etheric field, which is their preferred methodology because there's no restriction of space, time, mind, filtering, and all of this. But it's possible in both ways.
Excellent. Okay, let's continue on here. As we got about 4 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Viviane Chauvet is our guest tonight. Love V Love is asking, I love your artwork. Will you tell us about it?
Of course, I'm glad you're asking. So, this is just an aspect of my logo. You can see the full logo on my website. This design has been made for me for, I would say, almost 10 years now. And it is depicting Arcturian light language, and it speaks of my soul journey. It really is. But at the same time, there's a lot of encoding behind it. So it will speak to you differently depending on what you need to receive, what state of consciousness you're receiving from. And it's an activation as much as it is my logo, which is why I speak to so many people and I've been asked so many questions about it. So allow it to speak to you in ways that you need the most right now.
Excellent. Okay, continuing on. Let's go to Tom. Is DMT or mushrooms a shortcut to communicating with your soul group? Because I've been trying sober for a long time and have not received anything in return.
I honor that, Tom, and it can be very challenging. But we say that ultimately there is no shortcut for real, genuine, higher consciousness communications. The more your body is clear as a conduit, the more your system is clear. Your immune system, your liver, your mind, even your cognitive faculties. You'll see, trust that as you continue to be sober, and I know you will succeed more and more and detox yourself, body, mind, and spirit. You will see that the communication has always been there. It's just right now it's overshadowed and filtered out, but there's no need for any substance. You are the best communicator. You just haven't discovered yet. Keep going. I know you'll do it. I know you'll make it.
I'd like to add something to that. As someone who's had a lot of experiences, I've never used DMT. I've never used ayahuasca or mushrooms or anything like that. Where I have personally fed off of people for communication is being around other people who are connected, whether it's intuitively, psychically, whether it's fellow ET contactees. The minute I am around people like that, my own vibration and sense, it explodes tenfold. And if you add another person like that, it explodes again. And your body seeks that, and it seeks that energy flow. And if you have people that are close to you that you can work with, even one on one, and work with them regarding the connection will be easier to connect with, as long as your intentions are what your intentions want it to be. That's my own personal feeling on it. I don't know how you feel about that, Vivian.
It's well said, actually, Dave, because when you're connecting with other people or naturally use their gifts, their natural abilities to connect, it invites you to bring that out for yourself. So it raises your frequency, it raises your confidence in yourself. You are in better association because substance of any kind, including alcohol, eventually opens negative portals, and it's really very much to avoid. And more like what you said, Dave, practicing with others, of like-minded people, higher frequencies, it creates an environment that is also facilitate that's higher communication, to feel your guides, to feel even your higher self. But definitely I would go that route.
No, I fully agree with you. Vivian, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are through the first 90 minutes of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We have Viviane Chauvet for another 30 minutes until the top of the hour. Then in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp, then into Tim Senor's UFO report. It's a wild, fast show tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Hope you're enjoying it. I know I am. More with Viviane Chauvet right after this on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned. All right, we are clear.
Alrighty.
Woohoo!
It's going by so quickly.
Right?
It really does.
It is going insanely quick right now, and that's kind of cool. I like
It
when
is
it does.
awesome. It's a good sign, Dave. And the questions are fantastic. Great questions.
Yeah, the audience is usually pretty stoked on this stuff.
Love it.
We're having fun.
Oh,
we
yes.
are having fun. Let's see here. Where are we? Making sure I'm not missing it.
Do you have pets at home, Dave?
I have 2 dogs and 3 cats.
Bless your heart. I always says a friend of animal is a friend of mine. Right on. Right on.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good.
Yeah, we have cats too. And my Bengal girl is sleeping right next to me. She's always with me, whatever I do online, whether it's healing session, meditation, interviews. She's always there.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Oh,
my cats are all upstairs sleeping.
Of course, it's late. We're like, I'm going to sleep.
Right? Yeah.
Not my girl. She stay up as long as I'm up, and then she go to bed when I go to bed.
Not for me. Mine could really, honestly, I have those cats that could really give 2 craps if I was around. It's kind of funny that way. I think it's hilarious, but that's just me.
You are funny. I think they show you love and appreciation in their own way, their own unique ways.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's all good. I have
Of
fun.
course.
I have fun with them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going on a cruise ship next. I'm going to be speaking at a seminar at sea
Oh,
coming up.
nice.
hmm
Very nice. Hi, Juliana. How are you? Hold on. Let me get that question there. Thurston Howell III. How's Lovey tonight? Give us an update. Come here often. Oh, thank you, Susan Alloway. I appreciate that. That's a nice note. Monica says,
Awesome.
Vivian, you're amazing.
Yay. Thank you,
Dave
thank you,
Walters,
thank you.
great answers, Vivian, and love the show.
Awesome.
Oh, Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived. So we can now officially start this show 93 minutes late. We got about 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Awesome. It's really good to see you, Dave.
Yeah, it's very nice to see you too.
Thank you.
Very nice to see you. It's very cool.
It is very cool.
Let's see. We got about 1 minute. Thank you to YJ, Gizmo, and Kira for the amazing super chats. Thank you very much for everything that you guys do. Greatly appreciate it. Lisa Davey, how you doing? And I love that question, Sarah Yan. I'm going to ask that. All right, we got about 15 seconds. And remember, you can do some shopping at spacedoutradio.com on our store. Get yourself some great swag. Hey, Rob G, how you doing, buddy? And here we go, everyone. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for tuning us on in. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate turning your listening ears into the world of the woo. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go. Author, researcher, ET contactee Viviane Chauvet is with us tonight talking about the Arcturians healing and their message. And it's an important one. Viviane, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dave, for having me. Always a joy to be with everyone at Spaced Out Radio.
All right, let's continue with some audience questions here. This one comes from Tony in the UK, who's asking, if your civilization are from so far away and interdimensional, why do you need craft to travel? Can you not just appear?
We use both. We have the ability to project our thought forms, and the proof of it is that we can be on board a craft that is thousands of light years from here and still being able to appear to you in that holographic thought projection. So the way you perceive the word craft, we're going to invite you to put in the right perspective that when you navigate to the multiverse, if you wish to navigate to the multiverse as an entire civilizations with your physical form, then you need some kind of transportation. Otherwise, you are welcome to travel to the multiverse just in your thought forms or your light body. So it all depends of what you want to achieve. But all of this is completely possible.
Okay. Now, when you're giving these answers like this, are you channeling the answers, or is this from knowledge you've already been shown?
Well, they're transferring their energy, their knowledge to me. Remember that I am part of that civilizations. And so when we speak, even though you hear my voice, it's very much a collective of presence, of intelligence speaking with you all at the same time. So typically another type of channel, I will have to close my eyes and my voice changes and I shake to get the information. I am genetically built to be in that instant translation. So when they transmit their thought forms, their presence, it's automatically can be conveyed through my throat chakra. So I receive all the transmission, I receive all the thought forms, and it's translated into a understandable verbal communication that you can relate to. But if you feel the energy, the vibration of the words, you cannot perceive that this is beyond just human communications, meaning that it's many of us speaking through one voice.
Gotcha. Okay, let's go to Kurt. Remember when we were talking about healing a little bit earlier, he's asking, would it fix a person with type 2 diabetes?
That's a mentality. There's nothing to fix That's a mental concept. You have to understand that what is this type 2 diabetes is attempting to show you, to teach you. Is there karmic implication? Is there generational implication? So we have to decode what is those symptoms known as this label known as type 2 diabetes and how it applies in your life and what is the purpose behind it. There's nothing to fix. That's a 3D mental approach to healing. In order for healing to take place, you have to understand what this is showing me, what this is telling me. And so we have to decode why the body is creating this kind of response and it responds to what. So there's opportunity to dive into this with the understanding that we are the facilitators. Ultimately, is the higher self who will do the healing. So this is why healing is complex, and we invite you to look at it from a more elevated perspective and detach yourself from, I'm going to see a doctor, I'm going to talk to an ET, I'm going to talk to a healer, and they're going to fix me. It's not going to work that way, if that makes sense.
Very understandable. All right. Let's go to another question here. This one comes from Nancy. How do I ask for specific help?
Well, first, I would invite you to be clear on what type of help you're asking and what is it that you're ready to receive help from. So, how do you ask for specific help? Just be clear. What do you need help with? I need help with, for example, clearing my third eye. I want to help with communicating with more direct communication with my guides. Then great. When you ask specifically and you clear about what is it you need help with, that invites all of you, all aspects of you, to be in alignment. That's one thing that we perceive a lot, and we're not the only ones, is that Earth human beings have a tendency to say something, but their energy field or their heart or their emotion will say another messages. So whatever answers you receive, guidance or assistance, is whatever spoke the loudest. So we always says, be clear and be in alignment with yourself, which means mind, body, spirit. Are you clear? Or if there's confusion, what is this confusion about? And allowing yourself to receive gladly the assistance that will be provided, but from the capacity of you receiving the answers and the guidance that you ask for. So this is why clarity is very important, if that makes sense.
I get you. I get you. Let's go to Willard. Do you think the grays and the tall whites and Nordic like aliens are trying to tell me those shows that I just mentioned are real and somehow connected to either spiritual or dreamland, or no?
Well, Willard, I appreciate greatly your question, although your question is a bit confusing. Um, if you feel that you're communicating with grace or different groups like the tall whites and the Nordic, then ask yourself, what is my connection to these groups and what is the purpose of those connections for myself, whether it's for spiritual growth or whether it's for karmic implication or whatever that is. But your question is confusing. I would like invite you to clarify what is it that you're really asking about. I Do you understand the question, Dave?
Yeah, I think what he's saying is, he's getting communication from other beings, and he's just wondering how it's all connected. Is it connected either spiritually, or is he having this just happening in dreams, which could be real and could be imagination?
I understand that part, but why then they say the gray, the tall white, and the Nordic aliens are trying to tell me? So that show that implied that Willard, you already understand who you're communicating with. So again, ask, what is the purpose of those communications? Are you here to support my spiritual growth? Are you here to support my highest and greatest good? And are you of the highest light? So there's protocol you can apply in your situation to redefine what these very specific groups you're talking about are truly about. If they are for your spiritual growth, then they will convey the answers in that directions. But always ask, are you of the highest light? And are you here for my highest and greatest good? And they will have to answer you in that way. And I think that might clarify a few things for you.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Sarah. I felt like I'm one of those messengers, but I feel like this is a Truman Show. So who's Truman? Remember the Jim Carrey movie, The Truman Show, from a few years ago?
Okay. But what is the correlation between the feeling of being a TV show and you being a messenger? So I feel like this is two components put all together. Let's disconnect. The invitation, Sarah, is let's disconnect the impression of a TV show and let's more focus on if I am a messenger. I am a messenger of light. I am a messenger of higher intelligence. I am a divine messenger. Let's bring your energy back to it and let's see how your abilities as a messenger may blossom beyond the 3D story. So let's disconnect from that Truman Show. It doesn't serve here in that phrase. What is important is if I am a messenger, what will you do with this? Are you serving the light? Are you contributing to the elevations, to the ascension process? And that would be more of my question for you to reflect upon.
All right, follow up from Sarah. Do you know anything about the Mormon cosmology? I feel there's something connected in this.
I am very unfamiliar with the Mormon cosmology. I have no knowledge of it whatsoever.
All right, let's continue on. Ange in Australia is asking, Viviane, so you can fix medical issues through meditation and clearing your family generation issues and fields?
Again, there's nothing to fix, Angie. It's more approaching to the point that you already hold perfect and complete. You're simply there is to connect, and we're helping you to restore yourself to the level by allowing that decoding, understanding the language, understanding the pathway that led to disconnect that may have been into translating into physical symptoms, and the body will speak the language of energy. So it's a more complex decoding of understanding whatever physical symptoms known as medical issues. And that's again part of the huge reversal of thought system. So you can utilize your higher mental faculties to help to balance yourself and understand the immensity of the inner universe that you carry within you. That would be the most elevated answer we can provide for you at this point.
All right. I want to ask you in regards to the communication that you have regarding ET contact with the Arcturians. Is there a formalized message that they have for humanity, or is it a message that individually we have to pull up our socks?
I like your sense of humor. If you want to call it this way, let's pull our socks together then. This is what we're here for. So I like this metaphor because the pulling of our socks implied a sense of responsibility and partnership. That you understand that if you look at a group like the Arcturians, like the Andromedans, like the Advanced Lyrians from the Lyra constellation, how do you think they have reached that level of enlightenment and masteries? It's because they are pulled their socks, so to speak, and they have gone through a great deal of lessons and journeys and evolution and expansion to get to where they are. So it's more an invitation of our socks is just a little bit more evolved, and it's a reminder of how much your sock can be as evolved as ours. And it's more in that sense, it's an invitation of a partnership because you carry within you an immensity of archives of encoded knowledge through your own soul ancestry. Just look at your DNA, the immensity of the information that you carry. You are a cosmic eternal being of light who have had a multitude of incarnations, not just as earth humans. You could have been just a pure consciousness, formless, an angelic being. You can have a gazillion incarnation on a multitude of planets. But ultimately, in this point of time, whether you believe in yourself that way or not yet, who you are is still there, and this is what we see from you. So this is way beyond 3D personality traits, what I like, dislike, where I grew up. We understand that you have to play those roles and understand to rediscover the immensity that you carry within you. And there is an acceleration, there's much more opportunity for human beings to rediscover very much. The energy just within you can feed cities. Cities can feed so much. And yet, it's all about giving up your power to an authority, government authorities, higher ETs, doctors with a stethoscope and a white gown that never impressed me, even as a kid. Whether it's a teacher, whether there's always someone seemingly higher than you, and that is a huge healing to disengage, to free yourself from this, and understanding, do you even understand your inner universe? You carry within you a mind goal of energy and knowledge. So it's a time to rediscover yourself. So healing is also another umbrella of opportunity to explore the release of that potential so you can create miracles within yourself and in your life as well. So this is why it's so infinite. This is where my website name came through. Infinite healing. Huge possibilities.
I think that's inspiring. I
Thank
do.
you.
You know, the inspiration for wanting ET contact is wonderful, and the chances of getting something positive happening are higher rather than lower. But I mean, a clear conscience just doesn't bring that on. How do you manifest yourself in order to get the right beings to come along and carry the message through?
Excellent question. Think about it this way, Dave. What you project from inside into even the universe, that corresponding energy will come to you. So if you approach ET contact from a perspective of fear, they may be superior, technology advancement, doubt, anxiety. Well, what you're inviting is more of the same level of frequencies and same level of consciousness to come to you. Be clear about what is it that you wish to understand and rediscovering about yourself through the eyes of the universe and through the community of the intergalactics. Let's say, for example, you say, I wish to connect to the Syrians. I've always been connected to them. Well, in your heart, you can ask the Syrians to come and connect with you. And they will come to some degree. They're not going to show up at your door, ding dong, let's have tea together. They will connect with you in ways that they know they will be the most inviting, and also the language you may understand the most, whether it's an impression, a feeling, dream state to begin with to get you attuned to their presence, whether it's maybe ancient memories coming back to you from your own past experiences. It's all about clearing ourselves from fear, because when you retract yourself in fear, well, those who are on the same wavelength of that energy would say, oh, I'm attracted to you because I can feel that you are in that same frequencies. Open your heart, ask, I wish to make connections as an equal to my star brothers and sisters to help me guide, understand who I am, and also uplift me. So making contact, it's a conscious decision, and you have to ask what part of yourself is asking for that contact, and what is it that you wish to gain? What is the outcome from this? The invitation is there. It's simply allow yourself to attune to it. People always says in my healing practice, "Oh, I talk to my guides, I get no answer." Yes, you do. But the answer come in a form you may not ready to listen, or may come in the form of a language that you may not be attuned to. So it's really about the more you evolve and you blossom and open out of the shell, the more you'll discover that we've been here all along, coexisting, co-navigating this world with you, but at a different level. So it's an invitation to rise yourself. Remember one thing: lower consciousness always look up into higher frequencies to elevate itself, not the other way around. So higher consciousness will invite lower consciousness to rise and not to lower themselves. So it's very important to understand redefining the semantics of what ET contact is about. It's more of an intelligent, conscious communication dialogue. You were more and more in that sense now, Dave, and that's evolving a lot, actually.
We got about 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the top of the hour and say goodnight to Viviane Chauvet, our guest tonight. Viviane, I want to get in a question here from Shaq, who is asking, speaking of messengers, can there be messengers of the dark, the entities that are anti-humanity?
Well, I'll be very honest from an open heart, yes. And if you look at movies, musical industry, entertainment, about movies that is working on your adrenals, fear, and get you into the energy, there's no positive message there. There's no purpose there except to keep you in that energy and keep you veiled from a much greater universal truth. So, yes, they have been for a very long time. The invitation is stay in your light, recognize when those dark, lower frequency messages come to you and you say, I've learned from this. I know better. I deflect them. Now I'm aligned and I choose to connect with those of the same alignment. I no longer pay attention to that.
Vivian, you have a busy year coming up here in 2023, and let us tell us where you're going to be hanging on out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming up in April, I'm going to be speaking at the Hidden Secrets Revealed seminar at sea on the Royal Cruise Line with other speakers like Jimmy Church will be there, Nick Pope is going to be there, myself, my husband Peter will be there. It's going to be amazing, a 7-day seminar at sea. Then we're going to be in San Diego towards the April 21st, I think it is, to the 24th, 25 for Portal of Ascension, amazing conference in San Diego. We're going also to the UK in Glastonbury in August for another amazing conference. And we're going to be touring with the Stargate Network in September and October. We're going to Egypt in September, and we're going to be in Greece in October for a planetary get together with people from all over the world.
That is amazing. And your books, where can people find them?
Oh, thank you. It's a collaborative series. 2 of them, they're on Amazon. I don't have a copy with me right now. Oh, yes, I do. This is the second one called The Golden Wisdom of Love, Legends, and Legacy. It's a beautiful collaborative of many authors who've come together, gathered their hearts, and I'm part of them, part of the authors as well. And so they're all on Amazon. It's the second of the series. And I'm going to be featured in an upcoming, oh, that's a big one, in the upcoming documentary based on this book here, on the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac by the amazing Craig Campbell, Basco. And So the documentary is coming up, hopefully at the end of the year, if not maybe next year, but it's coming. And I'm part of the documentary based on the book. I cannot wait. It's going to be an amazing film coming up.
Love it. Viviane, thank you so much for coming back on Spaced Out Radio tonight. And we will talk to you very, very soon. Coming up next, we're going to head to the swamp. Then, right after Swamp Dweller, little Timmy Senor is going to be back for the UFO report. Stay tuned. We have plenty of Spaced Out Radio waiting for you right around the corner. We'll be right back. Great job, Vivian. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you, Dave, for having me. I think that was amazing. A lot of great wisdom, a lot of beautiful information, exchange, and question answered. It was incredible.
Awesome. You go enjoy your night. Thank you so much, Vivian.
You're very welcome, Dave. See you next time.
Take care. All right, Viviane Chauvet, everybody. And I'm going to step away for a couple minutes. We'll be right back with hour 3 next. And I caught my pen before it fell. I am back. Thanks, Aussie Ange. Dave's Chair t-shirts coming soon to Spaced Out Radio store. Oh, well. All right. We got about a minute here before we're going to go. And what a great show so far tonight. Fantastic show. It's been. We appreciate all of you tuning us in tonight. Thank you so much for making this a fun evening. Thank you to Kira and Gizmo and YJ for the amazing super chats tonight. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. Very much appreciate the love. And of course, everybody new who's hit subscribe and rang that bell. We are here 7 days a week. And remember, if you are planning on coming to Vegas like Aussie Ange making the trek, okay, hit us up at spacedoutradio@gmail.com and let us know that you're coming. We'll see you there. Here comes hour 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Thank you to everyone tuning us on in terrestrially on our radio stations and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cabasset. Cabasset is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. And it is that time for us once again to head on off to the swamp, where Swamp Dweller brings us another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. Years ago, I moved from a tiny town to a remote valley in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by a national forest and a few neighbors. It was just what I'd always wanted. At that point in my life, I had been a paramedic for about 5 or 6 years. Being outdoorsy and civic-minded, I volunteered with a local search and rescue organization. For being such a small, poorly funded organization, we were surprisingly busy. In the 9 years I was with them, we had at least one rescue, sometimes several, every weekend from spring through fall. The source of the majority of these calls was roughly the 100 miles of poorly maintained fire trails that were very popular with dirt bikes and quad riders. So when they'd inevitably get lost or wreck or injured, we'd go out, help them, and track them down. Provide medical care if we need to, and fly them on a helicopter or put them on a Stokes basket mounted to a janky freaking trailer that we'd pull them with a quad. About 2 weeks after joining, with zero training beyond what I had learned as a Boy Scout and a medic, I got my first call. A group of dirt bikers from the city had lost a party member. For some reason, they had put their least experienced rider at the back of the group of a dozen or so riders, and they took off into the woods. When they returned to the trailhead about 4 hours later, the inexperienced guy was missing. They set out again on foot looking for him for about 4 or 5 hours. Then they gave up and called 911. The interval from the initial 911 call until we had a squad assembled at the trailhead was fairly impressive. No more than 20 or 30 minutes, but we were already 8 or 9 hours behind the actual ball. So we did a quick briefing, distributed maps, divided into a couple of teams, and then set off into the woods. They put me on a quad with the most experienced guy and we headed out. The plan was for each 2 to 3 person team to take one of the longer trails that ringed the place. It basically was a massive loop. Then, after searching those, we'd systematically work our way into the shorter, more maze-like trails that made up the interior. This was a hasty search, as they would call it. None of that grid search crap. We were riding around looking for clues. I don't really know what I expected exactly. Maybe a few dirt roads through the woods or something, but these trails were an absolute nightmare. They were highly rugged, technical trails that you would have to know what you were doing and where you were going, or you'd never make it out. GPS rarely worked due to the rugged terrain and tree cover. Radios and cell phones were a crapshoot, and the maps didn't account for all the random trails riders would just, kind of make on the road. The only marked roads were fire breaks, and mileage-wise, those accounted maybe 10% of the trails. Why this guy hadn't been partnered with someone or put at the front of the group is honestly still a mystery. Just 4 hours into this, I'm caked with mud, bleeding from being hit with branches, exhausted, and I'm just freaking done. We take a water break, and I hear broken radio traffic and what sounds like the bike has been found, but there's no rider. It's only a few miles away from us, so we head in that direction. When we get there, the bike is off on the side of the road, along with the quads of the other teams. But we can see them a few hundred feet in the woods. We walk over and find them looking down at the missing person, who is dead. Lips blue, skin dusky, arms spread out like a cross. At first glance, his eyes looked wide open in solid white, but when I examined him, I could see his eyes were covered with fly eggs. The dude had been dead for a while. It didn't really make sense, though. His bike still had gas, water, and food, and he was a healthy guy just in his late 20s. Why was he dead? It looked like he had laid down his bike, run into the woods, and, I guess died. We wrapped him in blankets, put him on the Stokes, and took him to the trailhead where the coroner awaited. About a week later, I ran into the coroner and asked him what the cause of death had been. The pathologist's determination was cardiac dysthymia secondary to extreme anxiety. So the guy died of fright, which I had always assumed was Hollywood BS up until that point. I've always wondered what was going through his head, though. Was he afraid of the woods or of being lost? If so, why did he run blindly into the woods instead of continuing to follow the trail? Part of me thinks he may have seen something out there. I've heard many stories about weird stuff in the woods, and I've seen a few strange things myself, so it wouldn't surprise me. I really wanted to share this story, though, with everybody here in the swamp, because it's one of those head scratchers that I've never really been able to figure out.
And that's why we love the Swamp Dweller around here, taking us on a weird journey each and every Monday through Friday night to kick off hour number 3. If you want more stories just like that, all you got to do is head on over to his YouTube channel, hit subscribe, youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. From the swamp to the stars, it is time for us to bring in our main UFO man, Little Timmy Senor, we call him. Yeah, the resident Timbit for the UFO report.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
Timmy, my man, what is up?
Why so serious, Scott?
Always serious, man. It's a serious show that we do here, bringing this woo every single night, man. Not everybody gets to do that.
That's right. What a great guest you had on tonight. Wow. It blew my hair right back. All of that. That was amazing stuff.
I can see your eyebrows are stretched.
Oh, yeah.
That is very true. Very, very true. The UFO world, it just keeps pumping on in, and from the stories that are being, from the past coming to the future. And, we see Senator Gillibrand out in Congress right now, really pushing the financing for Arrow and wondering why that hasn't gone through yet. It's just a weird time to be in UFOs right now, isn't it?
It is tumultuous times indeed. And every day there's a new headline that has UFO in it. And I think that's pretty amazing stuff, especially when it's from mainstream media. And incredibly, the top story for tonight, in fact, is coming from the dailymail.co from Josh Boswell and Chris Sharp of the Daily Mail, with the exclusive that Pentagon refuses to release footage of 3 UFOs shot down over Alaska by UF fighter jets, Sidewinder missiles, despite admitting the images of the wreckage even exists. And so we have covered this pretty well on this show, but honestly, this is pretty hard to deny at this point, with Pentagon officials saying that they have footage of objects that were shot down over Alaska. However, the officials telling the dailymail.com that they could not release the images and said they had no timeline as to when or if the images of the wreckage would be available. And so the withholding is in stark contrast to the speedy release of information that came when the alleged Chinese spy balloon was shot down near South Carolina. And so the Pentagon has admitted to the Daily Mail that the images of videos and images or video of UFOs that were shot down over North America, but they're claiming that this still will remain classified. And so the Defense Department spokesman said they have the footage of the 3 unidentified objects that were shot out of the sky by the U.S. fighter jets using the Sidewinder missiles last month. And the videos are classified, and there are no plans to change that. And so in a quote, they say, "I can tell you that there are not currently any images or video footage that we can release," the Pentagon press officer told the Daily Mail. "And the imagery remains classified, and I have not received any information as to the potential timeline on the change in that classification." So the refusal to hand over the images in stark contrast to the speedy release of those photos that were taken by Air Force pilot of an alleged Chinese spy balloon shot down off the East Coast at the same time as the UFOs. The Pentagon was also quick to release a video of a Russian jet colliding with a U.S. drone flying over the Black Sea last March 14th. And so the Chinese balloon that was shot down over the South Carolina coast on February 4th was considered part of the 3 unidentified objects that met the same fate between February 10th and 12th over Alaska, Lake Huron in Michigan, and Canada's Yukon Territory. And so the reluctance to release the footage of the F-22 Raptors intercepting the UFOs has led to speculation that the government knows what those objects are, but is simply embarrassed to reveal it to the public, as they may have been as harmless as hobbyist weather balloon. And so the Northern Illinois Bottle Cap Balloon Brigade say their $13 hobby balloon was floating in the Yukon area and stopped transmitting around the same time as the Raptor fired on the UFO there. And so it is also interesting, the senior Republican Ted Cruz mocked President Biden over the possibility, tweeting that he is providing powerful deterrence for any high school science clubs that might try to invade America. And so continuing on, as Senator Josh Hawley tweeted, Joe Biden let a Chinese spy balloon cross the entire U.S. Now he's shooting down everything that flies. Why? Who knows? He apparently doesn't. Either Biden, the administration, is lying to us, or they're totally and completely incompetent, or both. And so we don't like to get too political here on this show, but it is interesting to consider that the prolific UFO researcher John Greenwald requested images of the UFO shootdowns via Freedom of Information Act. And on Tuesday, the Pentagon responded, citing national security exemptions to deny his request. And so it's pretty interesting to see these people kind of doing the cup and ball routine with us here, Dave. It's nothing new. And we also kind of suspected we might get something like this, but here it is in black and white with the admittance to the existence of video and imagery, but the lack of transparency and the refusal to prove that these were just mundane science projects or otherwise.
Well, I mean, we shouldn't be surprised by this. Okay, this is a propaganda game. And if you go back in our episodes where random guys spoke about this and really broke down into detail what was going to go on, this is something that we shouldn't even be concerned about. Look, it would be nice to get those images. The main reason why we saw the first balloon go down was because it was public footage. Okay, over Alaska and over the Yukon, where those drones were taken down, there are no people sitting out there with an iPhone watching things happen. And I don't think any of the polar bear or muskox population would be having any cameras pointed skyward. No offense to those animals. So, Tim, there comes a point on national security. And when they knew right off the bat that these were drones, okay, and if you listen to Random Guy, they wanted to surveil that first balloon. They wanted to see what it was doing. They wanted to probably see, and this is my own assumption now, if they could pick up what they were tracking from that object. And they got it out of the population's way and took it down. Simple. There should be no griping about that whatsoever. But the two in Alaska and Yukon, of course they're not going to show us. Of course they're not going to show us at all because, number one, there's only military footage. They may not want to give up, what they found. What it does show is, remember we were being told that we weren't sure if we would ever be able to recover the one? Doesn't this sound like it's been recovered now? And the other thing we need to understand too is, and this is something that you and I have been talking about since all this happened, these are UAP. These are not UFOs. Okay? These aren't from another planet or time travel or a different dimension. These have a made in China stamp on it, just like your GI Joes and your computer chips that are in your vehicles and everything else. And it doesn't surprise me that they wouldn't release it. There's no point to releasing it because they don't want to show off what they caught. They probably don't want to show off what they were able to save and what they're able to study. And as we said a few weeks ago, this is espionage 101 going on. So no, I'm not very surprised. How about you?
No, absolutely. I agree. You made some great points there. The fact that footage that was initially released was public footage and it was shot by a citizen. And so you're absolutely right. That's why we got that released video. The other video was absolutely military capture and radar capture. And so obviously the ways and means would not be made public. And so that's absolutely what we're seeing here in this story. And I love that you're highlighting the fact that this is still within the purview of UAP, most likely mundane, even though they're still wanting to label it UFO. I think that they're trying to do that simply for lack of better terms, to include Arrow and some of that sort of attention into this to kind of perhaps disprove the need for Arrow maybe down the line. We're going to cover a little bit more about how the funding for that organization is already had many wrenches in the works. So you're absolutely right that we saw this coming. But at the same rate, it's interesting how they're still using UFO in this to kind of control the narrative in this story.
Yeah, and we're going to continue to see that. But once again, we have to prepare the people who are listening. This is not UFO talk. This is UAP talk. This is what the government has been trying to cover up so that way they don't have to be there and be responsible for anything that could be extraterrestrial.
Right, or not in this case, because obviously,
Absolutely.
there is a slight amount potentially of embarrassment that they don't want to release this if it really was a science project. They probably don't want to consider the fact of the number of dollars they spent to take that down. But again, it's interesting that spokesman John Kirby said that the White House did not regret any part of that shoot down decision, how they took them down and how they handled it publicly, right? And so they're saying, given the situation and given the information available, the recommendation of military commanders, right, that is exactly the right thing to do at exactly the right time. And so that was kind of a quote from him. And so you make decisions based on the best information you have, and ultimately you have to come down to some core principles when you're making decisions. And I think that that's fair, you know.
Well, it is fair, you know, and look, even when it comes to UFOs, our gripe about disclosure has never been about national security. It has been about giving us the documentation that people aren't stupid. Stop treating us like we're imbeciles, that we're crazy, that we're just a bunch of tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. This stuff that is going on with these drones, this is serious stuff. We know it's been happening for years, decades, because it's cheap information with a balloon. Okay? And we shouldn't be surprised about this. And don't think for a second that America isn't doing it too all over the world, whether it's Africa, the Middle East, into China, Russia. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? It's cheap information comparatively to flying a jet plane that costs, say, $11,000 per hour to fly.
Right. And also, I think it's important that once it's been labeled a balloon, a drone, or whatever, we've got a label for it, we should stop using UAP and UFO in the sentence with it. It's been identified. And so when we continue to see this topic being muddled and, you know, really being diverted, the topic being diverted, of what you and I are really talking about, UFO, and we'll say UAP just because that's phenomenal and phenomena. Balloons and science experiments really aren't phenomena. And so really they're sneaking balloons and all that stuff into the UAP topic, really where it shouldn't even be. So I think you're absolutely right. And I hate to back up there a little bit, but please continue with your thought.
Well, I mean, we got about just over 90 seconds left before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. But I mean, we shouldn't be surprised by this. We shouldn't be surprised. This is a military operation, and we're not going to get the footage. Now, people may argue, well, why did they release the Russian jet aircraft, you know, spraying gasoline on the American drone? Well, that's what we call propaganda. They want the Russians to look bad in that situation, and they want to rile up the American public. So that way, in case the inevitable happens, which we hope it doesn't, there's a case for it. Them darn Russians, them dirty bears, them communists. We got to get Putin. We got to get them all. And if China steps in, we'll get them too. USA, USA, USA. That's what it's about. Propaganda. It was beautifully played. Beautifully played. And the public, none the wiser, isn't going to look at that. They're going to look at, oh my God, look, what is that crazy Russian pilot doing so close to our drone? Why would he be doing that? What is that liquid coming out? Is he trying to burn it down or whatever? Now, there's probably more to that story that we don't know, but they're going to give us the propaganda to make America look like a victim here. That's how it starts, Tim. The military has done it for years, decades. And on that note, we're going to head to break here at the bottom of the hour. And when we return on Spaced Out Radio, an FBI file on Bob Lazar, and UAP task force budget details denied. Big news coming up in the next half hour on the UFO report with our resident Timbit, Tim Senor. We will be back. right after this. Stay tuned. I wonder if Guy is coming on tonight. Hey, Guy, are you coming on tonight?
Is he in chat?
He was. I sent him a link just in case. Random Guy. Colby 393, what's happening? Look at this. Look at this, Colby. I want to shake your hand. You are a Russian trying to LARP as an American. It's impressive. Well, first off, Colby, you're wrong, and you're wrong because, number one, I am a Canadian, and number two, I'm Ukrainian by heritage. I don't like the Russians. All right? I don't like the Russians. So before you try and give a passive-aggressive, terrible insult there, horrible, you might want to check your facts. Let's do a Twitter fact check here. Tim, where's Dave from?
Canada.
I'm from Canada. That's right. And what's my background heritage?
Oh, you're all Ukrainian, buddy.
You got that right.
And you like it spicy.
I do like it spicy. Oh, sure, bud. Sure. Do I have my wallet on me? Yeah, no. Yeah. You might want to check the history of this show before you come in making shit up like that.
I love you have hecklers. That's great. Colby, you go, boy.
Yeah, praise Putin, comrade. All right, you go, boy. You go. You wave your Russian flag. We'll just keep taking you out one by one.
Colby.
And you know what the worst part about it is? You got a good name because my son's name is Colby.
And
your son's name is Colby.
Crazy.
Yeah. Crazy time.
Crazy but true. We've got Colbys.
Yeah.
We've been infiltrated by Colbys. Here's another one. 393. We love you.
Mm-hmm.
We love you, Colby.
You're right, YJ. I am not a Putin fan. No. You know what? If I was playing in one of those Russian celebrity hockey games and Putin was there, I'm going to tell you right now, I'd put my shoulder into his chest. I would.
Oh, you're just Putin on the Ritz.
Oh, that's horrible. No, that is horrible.
Sorry.
You should be ashamed for that right now. that is so terrible. It's funny.
You should put me in timeout or something. Just turn my camera off. I'll go in timeout.
Oh my God. That was horrible. Horrible.
Everyone is thinking that song in their head right now, though.
That's terrible.
Dun, 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 dun. Putin on the Ritz. It's a Mel Brooks thing. Yeah. Frankenstein.
Let's see here. Just scrolling on down here.
Yes, Young Frankenstein. Whoever guessed it in there, Young Frankenstein is correct.
Yeah, Will from Brimley. How's the diabetes tonight?
Is it the good kind or the bad kind?
No. We'll find out.
There's two kinds.
He's got to sort through the mustache first. Wilfred Brimley had a fantastic mustache. Fantastic. Best mustache in Hollywood. For sure.
The old soup strainer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever seen a Fisher space pen?
No.
It writes upside down.
That is kind of cool.
It's wicked cool. I got it when I visited the moon.
Oh yeah. When are you in the
moon? Like last Wednesday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You and Random Gee?
No, me and my family. We visited the moon. No big deal. Check my Twitter.
Hey, Christopher Branham, how you doing? All right. Thank you tonight to Maggie, YJ, Gizmo, and Kira for the amazing super chats. We really do appreciate it. And oh yes. Okay, I see where you went. Here we go, buddy. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the story that won't go away in the UFO world. Tim Senor for the UFO Report is here. Tim, more on Bob Lazar. Are we ever going to get enough?
No, we can't get enough, and that's why we're going to talk about him again tonight. So recently, there's an FBI file that was released via the help of the Black Vault and John Greenwald. And so back in November of 2018, the Black Vault began pursuing records relating to the company United Nuclear, owned by Bob Lazar. And so whether his story behind seeing an alien craft within Area 51 is true or not, his company, United Nuclear, does have an FBI file. And so we're going to skip over the part that has a quote from his website, but the motivation behind the request was the discussion of a raid that took place in 2017 of United Nuclear, which was revealed on Jeremy Corbell's documentary, Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. However, in the files of United Nuclear, the FBI denies that within the FBI files on United Nuclear are records pertaining to the 2017 raid. And according to local police records received about the incident, the FBI is referenced, so theoretically there should be. And so within this statement, they are actually showing that there should potentially be responsive pages, but there is nothing concerning the FBI involvement in the police raid in 2017. So it's really hard to put together a request that will get any conclusive information. However, the Black Vault has another case open specifically for documents pertaining to the raid, but it is unclear why a raid took place and had the FBI involvement. So that would not exist if the FBI filed this case. And so it is possible for whatever reason that the raid files are listed under records pertaining to Bob Lazar himself and not under the company United Nuclear. And so multiple attempts by Black Vault over the years to contact Lazar never received a response. However, within the document archive, there are some referenced cases that surround it. Now, there were some interest, I guess, and perhaps some conjecture around some theoretical, and I want to be very, specific here that this is purely rumor and conjecture, that their interest came because potentially a client had been sourcing materials from United Nuclear for the what would be considered the recipe for sarin gas. And so I think that potentially that was what drew some interest. But again, it's really hard to say because a lot of that is coming from just rumor and conjecture. But you've got to wonder why they're being so close to their hand here with the truth on those files pertaining to the raid. Does it draw any flags to you that they're not releasing it through FOIA?
Well, I find it interesting about this because, look, what we learned about this Bob Lazar thing is in the Jeremy Corbell Lazar documentary. It made it sound like Lazar was being busted because of the potential of having element 115 in his shop. And the reality of it was this had nothing to do with element 115. This had everything to do with some other chemicals and potentially leading to a murder case. And that's what we have learned from the FBI on this situation. Now, with Lazar, I mean, this story is now 34 years old and, it still comes up. But, I mean, people are going to have questions every time he comes up. Every time. Because this is a story that just won't end. And I don't know whether it's Lazar causing this or if it's Corbell or George Knapp. I don't think it's George Knapp. I think it's more so Jeremy Corbell. But we know the FBI went in there. And if it's an open case, they aren't going to release any information on it. They're not going to release their suspects because they're trying to build a case that they can take to court. It's not like it's an open and shut case about Bob Lazar. This really has nothing to do with Lazar, except for the fact that he is somebody of interest regarding where these chemical compounds came from. And it led back to his company in Klamath Falls called United Nuclear. And that's what's happening here. So it's not surprising that the Black Vault or anybody else can't get any FOIA requests answered on this, especially if it's still an open case. So, I mean, your thoughts on that, Tim?
I'm 100% behind what you're saying there, but there is an element that does still draw a big question mark. The fact that there is such an interest in him is kind of a why still. Now, if he did have something that he supposedly had taken from a top secret lab, then yeah, he would be on their list to potentially just randomly go through and search. And I think that is more along the lines of what was insinuated through the documentary by Jeremy Corbell. The insinuation there being that they were searching for element 51 with that raid. But
element 115.
Element 115, thank you for that correction. And the point is that now we're starting to see some of these slight FBI releases that show that there's thousands of pages of information on these files, yet we're only able to release certain bits of information, and the bits that we're getting are showing that, potentially it was something a little bit more mundane that they were looking for, not necessarily element 115. So again, it's mystery wrapped in an enigma, and I don't know if we're ever going to get to the bottom of it. I do think that this is a great way by FOIA, by making those requests, but I don't think we're ever going to get 100% to the bottom of it, especially knowing that a lot of this always comes so heavily redacted.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And the big question about whether or not Lazar actually has element 115 in his possession is something that we need to look at here. I mean, he says he got it and basically has robustly said he smuggled it out of Area 51 when he worked there. Okay, you and I secretly have talked to people who have worked there, and we have learned about how difficult it is to get things out of that secretive base. You just can't, hide anything because you go through security measures to make sure you're not bringing anything in and you're not taking anything out with you. So the fact that, he may have, say, I don't know, swallowed a balloon and carried some of it out? Could that have happened? Sure, maybe. I doubt it. I mean, it's a pretty unstable compound even right now. Moscovium, I believe it's called, element 115.
Very interesting. But he also claims, the creator of the homemade rocket car here also claims to have a homemade atom smasher, doesn't he?
Well, sure, he has everything. It's Bob frickin' Lazar,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the way I look at it, I don't think he would have smuggled it out. I don't think he has any. And unless this is just one big ruse, maybe, and if it is a ruse, maybe he was given it.
Well, my understanding is that element in particular is highly unstable also. So I don't know how you would transport something unstable. That would be another element to the story that makes it a little less believable potentially. But again, this comes from somebody that has no knowledge of that element or that story, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. From Lazar, let's head over to Washington, D.C., where budget for UFOs isn't going as planned. What do you got for us here?
Again, another story coming from the Black Vault with a FOIA request, the UAP task force budget details, in fact, being denied. And so the FOIA request for the budgetary materials and financial records of the UAP task force was denied, citing exemptions B1 and B5, protecting classified national defense and foreign relations information while covering interagency or intra-agency deliberative process. And so the use of these exemptions for financial information raises questions about the UAP task force's operations and the sensitivity of the request data. And so being denied to the access of those materials and financial records relating to the UAP task force comes as a response to a Freedom of Information Act case filed by the Black Vault, citing the exemptions B1 and B5 as the reasons for non-disclosure. Task Force was a government initiative formed to investigate and evaluate reports of UAP, commonly known as UFOs. And so after being tasked with assessing potential threats to national security, and its findings generated significant public interest. And so Black Vault sought to obtain detailed budget breakdowns, financial reports, and payroll costs, and other related financial information for the task force. However, the FOIA case was denied under those two exemptions. And so the fact is that the budget itself didn't seem to parlay into the recreation of that organization. And so through it's believed to be by some that the UAP task force has been transitioned as per a 23rd of November 2021 memorandum. And so they're now going to be calling it the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group, or the OIS, AOIMSG. And then it was renamed into Arrow. And so we are now looking that it may transition again into a new name, as the office may be restructuring and resourcing budgetary information and sourcing other finances. And it goes on here to say that it's probably going to change again. But I can tell you, this definitely doesn't come as a big surprise. And the fact is that they probably didn't get the entire budget that they were allocated for one reason or another. You remember how Elizondo had said that a big part of his budget was reallocated before his organization ever got any actual finances. So again, we could see Arrow potentially falling to the wayside. And again, along the way, they will continue to classify all the financial information relating to it so that it could just quietly close its doors and we'll never know how or why.
Do you think that outside of people like Senator Gillibrand, that maybe the UFO topic is losing steam within Washington, D.C., maybe not just because of the critics, but because of the strong, harsh words by many in the military and maybe other senators or Congress people coming up and saying, look, we really need those defense contracts to build those tanks or to build those F-35s. We can't afford to be losing jobs right now. Do you think that maybe this is all part of the game?
100%. Dave, you've never hit the nail better on the head than that statement. You're absolutely right. They would love to lose interest in this topic right now because, really the money could be spent in other ways, potentially in a better way, in their view. And so, absolutely, they would love to see this just go to the wayside. And honestly, they are historically a group that will wait things out, and at this point, it could die out with other topics kind of taking the lead, and this just going to the wayside. Historically, that has happened. Like, we were talking about the fact that this is kind of the ebb and flow on this topic. And if it went completely away right now, that wouldn't be a shock by any stretch of the imagination. And funnily enough, the next country in line to really take the lead on this is going to be Canada, by what is looking like. And we actually covered this story before, but I would love to highlight the fact that in this recent document, we talked about it at the beginning of the month, a recent document reveals that the first known Canadian UFO study in nearly 30 years now is underway, right? And so the Sky Canada project is the study being conducted by the Office of Chief Science Advisor of Canada and is the first known official Canadian UFO research effort in nearly 30 years. And so, as we're seeing the United States perhaps stepping back and not funding organizations, we see Canada really stepping up to the plate and funding projects. And it's looking like the plans are to collect information that started back in the beginning of the winter and will continue through the spring before preparing an internal draft and a full report in the fall and a final public report in the winter or spring of 2024. I mean, that's action, and I love to hear it because right now we are not hearing any promises from the United States on this topic whatsoever. And so they're promising, something along the lines of a 9-page presentation, and they're very considerate, I think, on details of how that paper is going to look. Dave, back to you.
I'm very concerned too. I mean, look, we knew, Tim, something was going to happen when the United States Navy started talking tough back right before the last report was released. Okay. And they said, look, we're not giving you any more videos. We're not giving you any more information. We're out. We're done. Don't ask us for anything. We knew that with that tough talk, what would be the results of it? And you and I even discussed that. What is this going to lead to? And if we look at it now, we see Senator Gillibrand going absolutely haywire about the fact that there is no budget for this, that they haven't fulfilled the budget plans for Arrow and getting a team of UFO investigators going, or UAP investigators, whatever you want to call them. And I could see this going the exact same way. And this is why you and I have been very staunchly calling for transparency on whatever happens, whether it's a private group like Enigma or the Galileo Project, NASA even, compared to what we're seeing now. And what we're seeing is the pushback from the people who don't want this story out, who want it to go away, whether it's for religious reasons, whether it's for political reasons, national security reasons, or military reasons. We don't have to like it. That's just the game that's being played.
No, you're 100% right. And let's just rewind to your show where Rich Hoffman came on and gave a scientific perspective of how they feel about the general public and UFO witnesses and things, it's very secondary in their process. They're not concerned with us the same way the government is very much not concerned with public opinion on this topic. Their eyes and the whole group that is organized to provide data on the topic are very much, their eyes are on a different goal than you and I. Their eyes are on proving this out to be potentially just our competitors out there, right? And something incredibly mundane and nothing to do with UFO being from another anywhere other than, human. So I think that that is where this big lie starts. As long as you go in with your eyes open, when you see them sourcing data, you have to just wonder why and what that true motivation is. Now, let's just put all that aside. I'm sure everyone involved probably in the back of their head admits that there's a part of them that admits that there could be, ET visiting us, but that is not what this discussion is about. When there's dollars being spent, it is not about that, unfortunately.
It really is. And you know what? If you're American, you should be watching out for this. See where this goes, right? Because they're going to not put the money in. They're not. And it's going to be a travesty because so many people had hope for this. This is why I have zero hope on the next set of hearings or these so-called whistleblower eyewitnesses coming forward that we're going to learn who they are. We're not. They want this back under the rug, and they want us to be tinfoil conspiracy theorists once again. Right. Unfortunately, I don't think this time it's going to happen. Social media has been too powerful. Tim, I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight, my man. It is always a good pleasure to have you here. And if you're watching on YouTube and Twitch, you can stick around for a little bit of overtime. We are awaiting the random guy to join us. We'll ask him for a bunch of questions about what we've just talked about tonight. And if you're in Radioland, you can always go to our YouTube channel and check it on out for yourself. And don't forget to hit subscribe. We'd appreciate it. All right. Thank you, Mr. Timmy. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. They can sit beside Tim. Good night. Apparently, random guy is driving. That's what he says. Hey, Doubleday, how you doing?
Sure.
I don't know if we're going to wait around for him or not.
I know what driving means.
Driving.
Yeah.
Driving.
Come on while you're driving. Well, that's not probably a good idea. We shouldn't distract him with a show while he drives, right?
Oh, he's a distracted guy anyways.
By all the military gear in his trunk and passenger seat, under his seat, above his
Yeah.
seat.
His James Bond Honda Civic.
Ejector seat and M16.
The jet engine in the back that blows black diesel smoke like a 2002 Dodge Ram 3500.
It lays down black oil behind it.
Yeah.
So James Bond, the Gatling gun that pops out of the front.
Right.
I'm not sure if the oil's on purpose.
Right. That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
The Barry Manilow that he blasts is definitely to distract trespassers.
Right.
It's not just because he
It
loves
works, man.
Barry. He
Whatever
really
works.
He's gonna really want to come on and defend himself now.
Maybe. You know.
Take my space pen and get out of here.
Take your space pen and get out of here. Oh, shoot. I forgot to download the show after all that. Wonderful. Good job, Dave. Kind of hard to edit it if you're not just a moron. What a moron move. Excuse me. Let's go here. Let's go here. Download. There we go. Good job, Davey. Oh, there's Guy. Hey, Guy. What's happening? Are you in the tunnels or what? Oh, there's Guy again. Hey, Guy. What's happening?
What's wrong with Honda, you fucking bastard?
Wow. Just dropping an F-bomb just like that.
I just didn't think he would fit
You're
in
more
one.
than 7 seconds in, so you're not demonetized.
Okay.
He knows too
Can
well.
you hear me or no?
Barely.
All right, that's enough.
Barely. Are you in somewhere in space right now about to get anal probed or what?
Well, it is. I'm actually in Las Vegas, so anal probing is a common occurrence even without aliens. Just buy someone. Just buy the right person a drink, and you're in for probing.
I'm gonna try and turn him up here. You want to
He's
speak
getting
here for a second?
He's getting an early start.
La 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 la. Microphone test. Microphone test. I'm a douchebag.
Yes, we know this. We know
All
this.
right. Helping out with the. I'm helping out with the audio test. If you guys
Obviously you don't have
red and blue
Bluetooth.
lights,
Are you not connected to your Bluetooth?
I can't be connected to the Bluetooth because I got freaking Apple CarPlay, and you can't do video if you're driving. It's like a safety thing.
Gotcha.
But safety be damned, I'm here for SOR.
Well, that's because you love us.
Yes.
I'm sure if anything goes wrong, I can somehow hold you liable.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Just put it on Dave's tab.
Put on Tim's tab.
Right?
He's had better real estate investments than I've had.
I invest in America.
We got to talk more about Bob Lazar OnlyFans. Like, you can make a lot of money. I'd sub to that shit for like $3 or $4 a month.
Just a lab
See what kind of
coat.
weirdo shit he's gonna come out with, right?
Just
Hey, I
socks
got
and
a
a lab
question
coat.
from random guy. There's a question from Double Day for you.
Okay, I can't read the chat, so you're gonna have to say it to me. I'm driving.
Well, that's normally what I do. So if you just let me do my job, I'll fill you in on the question.
You know what? I've had about enough of your attitude.
Wow. So early on in the show.
Says the guy who drives a Honda Civic.
Ooh.
Not a Civic, but sure.
All right.
I'll have you know it's the Honda Accord Sport, you bastard.
Yeah, you and your Nissan Juke driving around, cruising the strip.
I feel like Warren G. About to get into some regulators'
anyway,
activities.
Double Day's question is, when pilots shoot something down, do they still put stickers on their plane showing their accomplishment? Are there stickers for balloons?
It's a stencil, not a sticker. And yeah, I was just on base, a month ago, and there was some shoot down new stencils on certain aircraft. Yeah, that's a thing. Obviously, we're not in combat, so it's not as common. But you see them around every once in a while, and they come back, and when they come in with them.
Yeah.
Because it never happened.
Your good friend, No BS News, said, did someone say OnlyFans?
Yeah, I hate that guy. Don't listen to anything he says.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. Every time I come on the show, I get like 50 DMs. I'm like, dude, DM me before or after. Thank you sincerely, my fan base.
Your fan base of one person.
Actually, I'm up to like 3, but that's cool.
Nice.
Why you got to put me on blast like that?
I just
sometimes 4. It's sometimes 4. If the 4th guy doesn't take his meds, I'll get 4.
I have a UFO question for you.
Ooh, that's exciting and unexpected.
Remember when the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released that logo for a day or two from NIM Aviation that had the UFO on it?
Vaguely, yeah.
What do you think that was about?
The logo itself?
Well, do you think that somebody was just having a joke about NIM Aviation in particular and throwing that very blatantly obvious UFO disc, which, by the way, is over a certain part of the world, which I think is also pertinent, at least in the logo. But
right.
Do you just kind of have a general sweep thought on that and why that would even happen?
Anything that's government related or anybody that works for the government, everything is intentional. Everything is symbology. Everything is an inside joke or an indication. Everything. Every commander's coin I've gotten from like secret missions or places that don't exist or what have you, all of them have artwork that has to get approved for like OSI and other places so that it's not blatant. But every single dot or graphic in every emblem, logo, coin, and patch has a purpose to the people that know.
Great answer.
Did that answer your question? Or?
Yeah, absolutely it does. And so do you think the
so
insinuation...
what I'm saying is TLDR, it matters for something. I don't know exactly what myself, but yes, you can bet it counts and it matters.
No BS News says it's a government troll.
No BS News is just a troll in general.
There you go. There you go.
And I'm the only troll allowed on this show, so knock it off.
I was going to ask on the same note, do you think that there's anything else that the government does that's kind of like hiding their belief of UFO in plain sight?
There's a ton of stuff, actually. A ton of stuff. And it's funny because as compartmentalized as stuff is, section, service, whatever piece of the story they're handling, whether it's, again, if we're speculating they're covering up, you're never going to hear me say that's 100% what's happening. If we're speculating that's happening, then their piece of the puzzle, whether it's misinformation or counter intel or PSYOP or whatever the hell it is, they're going to have an inside angle on how they conduct their business, and they're going to have their own inside jokes about it. They're going to have their own symbology about it. They're going to have, so it's like, and the other groups projects from a different angle may not even fully understand why their stuff is funny to them or why it's relevant. But yeah, every organization is involved in anything secretive. There's a little bit of, I don't want to call it ego, but there's definitely the fact that you're aware you're working with something that's relevant and special, and you want acknowledgement for that. And since you can't share that with the whole world, can't tell your family, really, a lot of people, the way they recognize each other with a nod and a smile is using these word patches, coins, etc.
That's awesome. If you need to stop and pull over and feed the gerbils that are running your Honda, that's totally cool.
I swapped it out with a 2-stroke lawnmower motor. We're good.
Good times.
Always is. How about those Oilers, huh?
Isn't Connor McDavid amazing?
Dude, the guy is so ridiculous. I've never seen anything like that in person. Never. So fast, so skilled, just grabbing pucks. Literally, he jumps the wall, knocks a puck down, assists a goal within 90 seconds, and then goes sits down for 10 minutes. It's not even fair. The guy is so damn good. It's really he's a cheat code. Right, hold on a second. I got to cover the camera. I'm still here. I'm just going through my gate, so I don't want people to figure out where I live. Guards asleep. This is hilarious.
Going back to jail. All passes closed for the night.
Sorry, bro. This dude was straight passed out. I'm like, boy, I feel safe.
No BS news. You can't tell a hockey puck from a cupcake. So don't even talk to me about the Oilers being lame.
Bro.
Hockey puck from a horse pucky.
I swear to God, there's 13-year-olds. It's after midnight. Just cruising.
That's when they come out, dude. They're like little zombies.
Little savages. Well, the good news is I'm about to pull in the house, and then the audio is going to get a lot better.
Too right.
You get to see my handsome face pretty soon.
Oh, you know your fans will be glad to hear that.
Oh, yes. All 3 of them.
Hey, that's 3 more than you started with.
All thanks to SOR. Started at the bottom, now we here. Mama, I made it.
Started at the bottom, and no, he's stayed there.
You know,
hey, love. I'm going to the eye doctor tomorrow, too.
All right.
I got a great day of Medicare tomorrow. Eye doctor and then straight to the dentist.
Oh, shit. Hold on.
I'm going to make your brown eye blue.
All right. We're going to leave those guns in the car. Fuck it. All right. Here we go. Just got a garage door sound. Get past, and we're in business.
Weird. That sounded just like a garage door. How'd you do that?
I got mad sound effects, bro. Mad sound effect skills. Got over here. I'm sitting here with my what is that? What's the soundboard you guys use over there? The effects on it.
I just use my mouth. It's Aloysius P. Coltrane style.
That's what she said. Anyways, you guys are so inappropriate. Hold up. All right.
This is after hours. We can get away with quite a bit.
No, I know. I would never dare say this if we were live. Come on. I'm not going to kill Dave's cash cow. I just want to embarrass him. All right, hold on.
Dave falls asleep at midnight. He's fine. That's actually a statue of Dave, a really good quality statue.
Oh, okay.
Dave's asleep. He went to bed like 10 minutes ago.
Legit, bro. Shit. Hold on. Ask me another question while I'm setting this up.
All right. I'll ask you a question, then I'm going to disappear for a minute. What do you think about, or what is your opinion about the argument going on in D.C. about the budget for the UFO program or the UAP program?
You talking about the Arrow funding or whatever?
Yeah.
Good question.
No, that's a great question. I actually was watching that today, and I was going to text you, but then I realized I had a life. No, I'm just kidding.
You bastard.
Such an
How
asshole.
dare you have a life?
Hold on a second. All right, let's see. Haha, here I am.
There he is.
Oh, damn.
He's got his MAGA cap on. Oh no, it's Yankees.
You got my friend.
Is that a sloth?
This is my son Sloth.
I highly approve of that sloth, just so you
He
know.
left it over here. So I was supposed to have them tonight, and then a situation occurred where their mom came and picked them up. So now I'm here with you instead, alone. And since I had my kids, I'm not even drunk, so that kind of sucks.
Well, I spent the day pretty much waiting for furniture to be delivered. And then my delivery guys were so baked, they got confused as how my 3-piece sofa gets put together. I'm like, don't smoke right before you come to put, I mean, maybe 15, give it a little like lay down. Just unbelievable. It was like literally the Three Stooges coming in and putting together a 3-piece sofa set. And then here's the thing, they put it all together and then they looked at me and like, do you want the rug down? And I'm like, yup.
Sounds sexual.
I do want you to lay that rug down. So now what? You have to get under that sofa.
So going back to Dave's question.
Okay.
The thing that was interesting to me is, why is there a conundrum about whether to fund this fully or not? Has anybody answered that question?
Right.
No, seriously.
Yeah, I think so. The question's been asked, but the answer when FOIA'd was that it's above our pay grade and that they're not releasing that kind of information to us. Why?
So does that breed trust in you?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's exactly the point, that we know that organization is obviously not being taken any more seriously than ASOG or any of the AOI MSG that they want to throw at us that previously took place, or the UAP task force for that matter. It just seemed like an allocation of funds and a distraction on the topic, and definitely a way for them to take that and just run with the whole threat narrative. And here we are sitting with classified UFO videos that they're never going to discuss and never going to show us ever again, just like you had predicted.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Go on.
And so what it is an absolute repeat of what we've seen historically, where they generate all this interest within the government that we need to pay attention to this UFO topic, and then they squash it when it no longer seems to form fit whatever they are doing at the time that they need the narrative to cover.
Yeah, that's just weird, because the number I heard was like 20 million. That's literally like nothing.
Right.
That's like no funding at all. That's like less than, like, I'm trying to think, like a security office on an Air Force base or something. That's nothing. And so if it's something that's so important, why are they withholding funding for it? Are they redirecting the funds somewhere else? Did they figure out the people that we put in charge of Aero are no longer controllable, so we're not funding them? Is like, there's so many possibilities, right? So it is a curious question. I honestly don't know. I feel like the last thing this administration has done, or this Congress, or anything really, for the last 2 decades, is say, no, we're not funding something. It's like they have a contest to see who can spend the most freaking money. And $20 million, like, we buy more toilet paper for Ukraine than that, like it's literally ridiculous. That's nothing. So it's weird that if we're talking about protecting our skies and getting truce and stuff like that, that we wouldn't allocate literally anything to it in the broad scheme of things. So it's weird.
Well, I also think
be a power play. Could just be a power play.
Consider for the fact that the minute that it appeared that UFOs might be real for a second, we had an intermediary group dedicated to this topic and reporting directly to Joe Biden as soon as we had this infiltration into our airspace. There was that immediately, right? And so it suddenly became a reality that needed to be discussed on a different level. And that organization put together a group to get direct information on it, and they needed all of it now. So you can see how all these organizations that they'd created before came up with zilch and probably weren't even close to being on topic on real information, because otherwise they would be reporting directly to President Biden. He wouldn't have requested a special group to be created to report directly to him on this. It would already be there. They would already have the information if this was the real topic.
Well, an EO could handle it, honestly.
What's an EO?
Executive order.
Oh, okay.
But if he deems something to be a matter of national security, you write an EO. For something that's in the millions and not hundreds of millions, probably just going to get rubber stamped through, or at least they'll start the process, and then it'll be up to a secret hearing in Congress to strike down the EO.
And can't the president declassify something just by deciding on it?
Yep. Unilaterally, the president of the United States is the only person that has the authority to declassify any intelligence or document in possession of the U.S. government.
Does anything official have to happen for that to occur, or can he just announce?
Literally sign the paperwork.
And it has to happen before?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just curious as how that chain works. And that's interesting because suddenly we could potentially have a bunch of information declassified for us if this topic was a reality. We could suddenly get the truth if the president
got a presidential election coming up. Make sure you ask those questions to your candidates.
Right. And how do you feel Tim Burchett is dealing with this and handling this topic? Do you think that him being so outspoken on the government lying about this topic is good? Do you think it's creating waves in the wrong direction? Or do you think this is fantastic and we need more support like that?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know enough about the guy himself or his
the representative from Tennessee who's really outspoken, kind of supports.
No, I know who you're referring to, but I don't know his background, to be honest. So when I make these calls, when I make decisions for myself, I do.
Well, let me rephrase the question. How do you feel about grassroots organizations coming up with their own way to get this topic in front of Congress or the House and things like that?
I don't have a problem with it. I think it's great because they're going to, if we're working with the idea that there is suppression of information or there is misdirection of information and it is intentional, then the only way to combat that is kind of guerrilla style, right? You can't just take out an ad on MSNBC or whatever if the powers that be don't want it. Okay, so you can't just do the normal means of spreading information, collating data, and getting a result and bringing it to the attention of your elected officials. You got to kind of sneak it around or blow it up from different angles. Different people in different groups is good because people may have different motivations, but it doesn't matter as long as they're not lying. Don't lie. And that your goal is equal transparency for everybody, not just your organization and not just dollars for your organization. As long as that's the case, say screw it, man. Spitball everything you got from everybody you got.
Well, what do you think about the fact that this UAP topic is heating up at the time when other global events are heating up? It's really, become a hot topic since the military release or those, whatever Corbell releases back in 2014. And their denial kind of makes it even more interesting. But we're seeing a parallel in this bubbling up right now and other issues bubbling up in the world. Any correlation one to the other? Are they separate? Is one covering the other? How do you see it related? Any connection?
I don't know. I could speculate, but it wouldn't be any use to anybody.
Right.
I try to speak in percentages or absolutes. In the case where I don't know something absolutely, you'll hear me say something like, I'm 90% sure. Meaning, unless I get some other data, this is what I believe to be true. On certain things, I just have no idea. Because I don't know enough of the moving parts to really have a valid, intelligent opinion. It's just some dude, saying something. Some random guy
right,
having an opinion on something. So it's like...
let's go down there. Let's take a random case. For example, I don't know if you've heard speculation on this, but there's like this big craft that's just outside our solar system. Some even say it's hanging out on the dark side of the moon where we can't see it. And it's right. I mean, is that your true feeling that it's just nonsense, or what is, I mean,
have I been to the dark side of the moon to tell you 100% it's not true? No.
Well,
Have I
why
seen
don't we?
enough evidence that would tell me if my kids' lives were in danger and I had to make a decision on that? I would say no. It's not.
So you're
happening.
thinking it's more the zeitgeist on the topic right now, and so even people that, you know, consider to have contact experience may talk about this story, and then someone else on the other side of the planet has the same story, but they've never heard each other's story. Something like that can be pretty compelling.
Absolutely.
But what does it take, I think, really for you at this point? Is there anything out there that you've heard that you're kind of like, this is kind of interesting, it comes from a good
I
source?
told you guys, the water stuff, the ocean stuff, I think that's got legs, because I know people that I know in person that are not crazy, that are not mental, that are reliable sources that have told me stories that are just incongruent with capabilities that I know to be possible.
Well, so why the reinvigorated interest in going to the moon by NASA and everyone?
Well, because they already had all the evidence of the aliens. We moved them all. You didn't hear? We moved them all from there. So now it's safe to go there with the TV cameras, because we put them all at the bottom of the ocean. Some are on Mars. Some we keep them on the opposite side of the sun so no one can see them. Got it down to a science.
I mean, this week I did a couple of stories on the potential of getting to other exoplanets that are inhabitable by humans, and we wouldn't use normal technology. We'd use wormhole or pellet beam technology, which is basically traveling down the beam of a laser. But you know, another thing is where you are broken down into molecules and then recreated at the other end digitally, a digital recreation of you somewhere. But a lot of these theories are coming into maybe possibilities in the next 50 years or so. Now, if that's possible, right? Doesn't that bring the realm of possibility a little closer into hand? Do you buy into that? Or are you more of like, do you think that's possible? Do you think it's already taking place by ETs?
It could be, but I think at the end of the day, technology is going to hit a roadblock of, and this is just me speculating. I'm not speaking on, like, we're having kind of almost a philosophical question here, right? So I personally believe, way after we're all gone, at some point science will advance to the point where we realize that, you know, our meat pouches of bodies are not everything that we've always thought. I mean, some people are very enlightened. They get and I like the soul type stuff. I like the interdimensional type stuff. Like, I want to believe in that, and there's legs to that, even for me as a skeptic of so many things, even though I'm not particularly religious or a ufologist or anything like that. So for me, I think, because there has to be an explanation to all this. So I think ultimately that science gets to the point where we can do whatever. We can take your consciousness and put it in a robot dog or whatever, right? And if you can do that, if I can move your mind out of your physical body, I really believe we're going to be able to do that in the next couple hundred years. If I can take a person's mind and move it into another vehicle, whether it be organic or not, then basically that proves that your soul and your consciousness is not a physical thing, like, for once and for all. And when we hit that wall, there can no longer be a debate about it. And then being transdimensional is just an accepted fact, because we can witness it scientifically and in some cases physically a few hundred years from now. And I think eventually it will get to that point. So yes, if they're out there, of course they could teleport. Of course they would have this, if they're thousands of years. We're almost there. We're a couple hundred away. We can write DNA. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of cool stuff coming out. And yeah, we can't really do it, and the stuff we can do is shitty. But a few hundred, look how far we've come in 50 years. Give it a few hundred more with the acceleration of technology and knowledge. Dude, we're going to get there. And so you would have to actually go from saying, I believe in interdimensional travel and sounding like a kook to anybody that doesn't believe it is pretty much an ignorant idiot, because we know it's getting there. We haven't done it yet, but that's going to be a huge thing. That's going to be huge. And unfortunately, we won't be here to flesh it out, but that's my belief. So yes, I believe they can come here if they exist, but that's part of the reason I'm skeptical, because if they could, and they could recreate consciousness and teleport it here and manifest it in a way, I don't think it would just be to waste time to put on shows for us and to make us ask questions. I think it would be to send a direct message and not make us guess. And that's my belief.
Yeah. I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm going to let it go because I know Dave's probably ready to sew things up. But I spent the afternoon talking with Preston Dennett, who has written over 30 books on contactees and witness events, and some historical and then some firsthand contact events. And his books are incredible. You should look him up, Preston Dennett, if you haven't read any of his work. But I put a question to him that
lots of pictures in it.
Yeah, you're going to be thrilled. Yeah, there may be a dot to dot somewhere in there too.
I'm going to have Dirty Fylth illustrate it for me.
There's a word search. You're going to love it. And the word is aliens. Yeah, you're going to find it a lot. But in there, basically, after talking to him and realizing that what he had done is basically built a massive database of firsthand witness accounts and historical accounts. And my question to him is something like that. Don't you feel like that is a good enough piece of quote unquote proof and evidence that it may be anecdotal, but it's enough in one spot to give to Congress or the House as something that's credible? Because we want the witness side of things to be kind of represented, not just the nuts and bolts and the threat narrative. We'd like perhaps the witnesses aspect to be brought forward and represented at some point. And so we need databases and things like that they need. And we don't just want Enigma. I'm saying,
right.
How do you feel like you need a representative from the witnesses kind of, and then have them come with the firsthand accounts? And
it's rough.
Do you feel like that would be a good entryway into warming up Congress? What are your thoughts?
If there was a unified front for that, then yes, absolutely. The problem is there's too much fragmentation. Like, I'm involved in other communities. I'm in car communities. I'm in tech communities. I'm involved in different things. And the one thing I learned about is, as great as it is to meet people and share ideas, if you get too many people, like, we're tribal. We tend to faction off. And like, you end up hating each other. Like, I've already seen it in the UFO world on UFO Twitter. It's like, why I don't even bother. Because it's like everybody's just out to prove why the other guy's wrong and they're right. And that kind of goes on with a lot of things. So I think in the case of believers, experiencers, etc., if they were able to have a unified front where they weren't condemned for what they were saying and there was a way to present it, then it could be taken seriously. But it's so fragmented because everybody has their group, that their ideology subset of the niche that they want to subscribe to, that they're unable to really get any momentum. Because there's going to be another group downplaying that person's credential, experience, who's in charge of their group, whatever, right? And therein lies the problem, is human nature and tribalism with it.
It's a great answer. Dave, over to you, buddy. And thanks for letting me dominate the questions and answers portion.
Oh, that's all right. You do it all the time.
I'm in the
and the
blue
word
room.
Rodney King, can't we all just get along?
I'm in the blue room tonight. I figured I could
And
let
stay
it
in your car. I think you
slip
said that too. But I could be wrong.
I want to ask you, and we only got a few minutes here. I want to ask you in regards to the whole budget aspect, and what we've seen go on there, and the fact that we've seen the U.S. Navy come out and state that they don't want to play the UFO game anymore. Is it about trying to put this topic back under the rug, in your opinion?
I don't know. If I'm guessing, just based because I'm telling you, my people tell me things. So it's almost weird that now that what is it, USO, I guess, the stuff that goes in the ocean, is that what you guys call it?
Yeah.
Now that that's becoming dominant and prevalent, and a lot of, I'd say maybe I'm wrong, but at least to the layperson, it seems like half the stuff that comes out I see is from a Navy pilot lately, or a Navy ship, or whether it's drones, lights, craft, tic tacs, whatnot. So it's kind of odd to me. It raises a flag that now that we have more information, more data, more film, more than ever in history from the Navy, now they don't want to play. That to me tells me that they want to investigate it quietly. They don't want eyes on it. That's what it tells me.
Bingo.
They know there's something, is what I would speculate. Anytime someone takes their ball and goes home, you might want to follow them home and see what they're really up to. I'm just saying.
Great analogy. I like that.
Hey, I'm good. I get paid for this. Well, not particularly, but to talk.
Okay, so if that's the case, which I believe to be true as well, okay, is it about making a mockery of the community and try and keep that infighting going, so that way the infighting takes precedence over what the research is going to be? Because if they don't want to budget it,
right.
This is almost Robert Bigelow part 2, where back in 2007, they gave a bunch of money to Bigelow to go spend on, and they didn't give anything to the ATIP budget, according to Lou Elizondo, like Tim had stated, but they gave a bunch of that money to Robert Bigelow, where he tried to buy into MUFON. He tried, he picked up the Skinwalker Ranch.
Well, he obviously bought into something. He got somewhere with it.
Yeah.
Because now he's not playing anymore. So he doesn't want to share, from what I understand, doesn't share research, doesn't share anything. So it almost seems to me like something was discovered along the line and he made a deal that he's not sharing. Because he could make a lot of money if he had information and parted it out to media, to groups, right? Wouldn't you agree? So the fact he's not interested in monetizing it, that's very curious to me.
Absolutely.
That's very curious to me.
But I guess what I'm saying, random guy, is this. We're seeing the 2.0 version of this with the Enigma Labs, where it's private funding, whether that private funding comes from Peter Thiel or money that is generated and then funneled that way. We're seeing that happen with all of these scientists and UFO groups now wanting to jump on the Enigma Labs bandwagon.
Right.
And if it's in private, nobody has to answer it.
The only good thing I can say is this. If you let these groups get big, if you let them, I had a talk with my brother-in-law the other day about politics and how do you fight against the other side if your ideology, do you feel like you're losing, right, in ideology for politics? And I'm only segueing this so you can understand. So in the political world, if one side is really good at whether it's propaganda, media, whatever, they're getting their message out and they're, quote, winning, well, then you really only have one choice. You can't fight that. You can't fight it head on. You're going to lose. What you do is you start pushing the craziest part of that ideology so that it gets big and it does it at a faster rate so that people can see the negative results of that behavior. Because if changes happen slowly, people aren't going to worry, right? But if you go outside your door and you live in a nice neighborhood and now a new political party's in charge and now there's crime, you're going to go and vote differently next time. And I only say that because to apply to this topic kind of works the same way. If there's a shady group or you think they're doing something they're up to no good, then guess what you do? Promote them. Get them as big as possible. Get them on every newscast. Make sure everybody's talking about them because somebody's going to mess up. They're going to say something. They're going to hire more people. Eventually someone's going to talk. And you push them, thrust them into the limelight rather than fight against them. So they get so big they can't control their own ethos of misinformation. Sorry to go deep with it, but this is like some.
That actually makes a lot of sense because
psyop stuff.
Right. And we've seen traditionally that even the CIA has put people into the UFO organizations and realm to drop in just a bunch of nonsense mixed in with a little speckle of truth to carry it down the river. And sure enough, it ends up spinning into nonsense. And then when that group starts repeating the nonsense they think is real, it totally negates the validity of that organization, and they're no longer taken seriously. So I could see exactly how you're putting that. That's great.
I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I'm not very articulate in these matters yet, just because I'm forced to rely on my knowledge rather than stuff that you guys already know. If I knew what you know, I could probably articulate things a lot better, but it's a process, right?
Yeah, no, we're putting it together, and it's great.
Cool. Anyways, Dave, did you want to top this Sunday off with some sprinkles, or where are you at? Cherries on top?
I don't know. Well, let's see here.
Dave's in editing world.
I see that. So what do you guys think is going to happen with let's talk military stuff. What do you guys think is going to happen with the hypersonic missiles Russia's putting in Belarus? I have my thoughts. I'm curious your
Please,
thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see it being, is this a posturing, or you think something bad could come of it?
Yeah. That's a big one.
That's too serious.
That's too real.
There's no woo in that. We don't want to talk about that, Archie.
Yeah, that's like direct results sort of thing.
Real life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when the room gets quiet and everyone starts taking buttons down on their shirts. It's getting hot in here.
Yeah, dude. I saw you were dressed like a cholo when you came on set. Now you're starting to look more like belong on a 70s porn set in the blue light, so that's good.
All I know is that if crap does hit the fan, I really don't look forward to eating deer and rabbits and
rats
and bear.
Somebody say cuddle. I want to cuddle.
I'll tell you what. You know what? This blue thing. This is just a massive homage to David Lynch. I just feel like playing the Blue Room, or the Red Room, I think is the song, and we'll just kick back and watch some David Lynch movie. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right.
But
if you don't have any other questions, I'm going to go with.
Well, I was kind of trying to get you down the woo lane.
On the internet.
I was trying to get you into some woo.
Bring me some woo.
Got it. Thank you, Google. Thank you, Jeff Steve Garvey, for that awesome super chat. Guys, I got to get to bed here because I got to get up early with my little guy in the morning.
There you have it.
Then I got to go see how bad my eyes are. Then I have to go get my first cavity in 25 years fixed. Busy day.
That's the worst. Good luck with that.
Sucks getting old, doesn't it?
Positive thinking.
I thought worst part is I shit my pants, and that's not even half of it, I guess. Guess there's other things that go wrong too. I was like, I could live with a diaper one day. And then I found out how other things stop working. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And why, as a man, do fingers start going everywhere when I go to the doctor? It's uncomfortable. Just asking.
On that note,
tomorrow night on the show, Les Velez is here. We're going to talk some paranormal and aliens from his group Opus. We're going to have a fun time. Don't forget, if you're new here, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thank you to our super chatters tonight, Jeff, Shaq, Monica, Maggie, YJ, Gizmo, and Kira. We appreciate it. No BS News, a.k.a. NSA guy. You stay safe out there.
Good night,
Take care
everyone.
of our random guy for us. Drop an elbow on him. Little Timmy Senor says good night. Me too. We'll see y'all tomorrow night.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.